The Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Kingi, has this afternoon directed the Sergeant-at-Arms to ring the quorum bell, and this will allow senators, those who are yet to make their way into the chamber this afternoon, to do exactly that, to allow the House raise the requisite number to commence business. Let's have a further look at the order paper this afternoon on what senators are expected to transact this afternoon. Pursuant to Standing Orders of the Senate, Standing Orders number 53, subsection 1, nominated Senator Hamida Kibwana will be seeking a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the status of the multi-billion shillings medical equipment services, popularly known as MES, list 2 counties. The Senator for Nandi County, Senator Samson Cherargei, will equally be seeking a statement pursuant to Standing Orders number 53, subsection 1, from the Standing Committee on Matters Energy regarding the fuel subsidy program by the national government. The Speaker, Honorable Amason Kingi, is also expected to communicate to senators this afternoon on a petition forwarded to his office rather. This particular petition is a petition to the Senate by the Nayan Savla concerning the delay in the incorporation of Victim Protection Board under the Victim Protection Act. The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Matters Education, is also set to table a report of the Standing Committee on Matters Education on its consideration of the Learners with Disability Bill. And this is Bills number 3 of the year 2023 from the Senate. The Majority Whip, Honorable Senator for Kakamega County, Honorable Boni Halwale, is saying to it that senators who are yet to make their way into the chamber this afternoon do exactly that, to allow the House commence business this afternoon. And we have senators streaming into the chamber as the quorum bell rings per the directives by the Speaker. And this particular period is to ensure that the number is attained before the House commences business. The incorporation of the intelligent water management system in buildings plans for the sustainable living is a motion by Senator for Nyeri County, Senator Wahome Wamatinga. The House has raised the requisite quorum. I now hand over for the live broadcast. Enjoy your viewing.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Senator, can you have your seat, Senator Muku? Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation from the County Assembly of Kilifi, comprising members of the Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs, and its Secretariat. The delegation is undertaking a benchmarking visit with their counterparts in the Senate. Honorable Senators, I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. The Honorable Brown Safari, the chairperson. The Honorable Kalama Mumba, Vice Chair. The Honorable Amina Sahara Bule, Member. The Honorable Oscar Wanje, Member. The Honorable Emmanuel Karisa Baya, Member. The Honorable Benson Karisa Ngirani, so Member. The Honorable Felista Meso, Member. The Honorable Mariam Mkumbi. The Honorable Aaron Tete Ndundi. The Honorable Stephen Baya Mwaro. The Honorable Agnes Sidi. Mr. William Katana Nyanje. Ms. Linda Nyamwata. Mr. Shauri Nyule. Ms. Charity Mwarumba. Ms. Salome Kasichana Konde. Ms. Peris Kache Kibarua. Mr. Rimba Mukuna. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Deputy Minority Leader to extend very brief welcoming remarks.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for according me the opportunity to welcome the visiting delegation from Kilifi County. The Speaker, Kilifi County is the county that has given this Senate the Speaker of the House and the Minority Leader of the Senate. We appreciate your visit, and it is my hope and prayer that your visit shall be fruitful, that you shall gain whatever it is that you are coming to benchmark or study, and that as you go back home, then you go with a good report of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, when you were listing the members that comprise the delegation, there is a name you mentioned, and I saw Senator Madago almost sprang out of his seat to check who is that Kasichana. The Speaker, just to confirm that Kasichana is not a small girl. It's an adult that Mr. Madago is properly informed of the delegation that is visiting today. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order, Clerk.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Honorable Senators, I hereby report to the Senate that a petition has been submitted to the Senate by Nayan Salva concerning the Victim Rights Charter. As you are aware, under Article 1191 of the Constitution, and I quote, "Every person has a right to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including enacting, amending, or repealing any legislation." Honorable Senators, the salient issues raised in the said petition are as follows: that the Victim Protection Act number 17 was enacted in 2014, yet the Victim Protection Board is still unincorporated. That the Victim Rights Charter has not yet been implemented 8 years since the enactment of the Victim Protection Act. That the staff of the Victim Protection Board have been receiving a salary for 8 years, yet the board remains unincorporated and the Victim Rights Charter has not yet been launched. That the petitioner has requested a copy of the Victim Rights Charter from the Victim Protection Board unsuccessfully. That the representatives of the board have stated that elaborate procedure and budgetary constraints have caused the delays without providing any evidence to support. The reasons provided by the Victim Protection Board for the delay in launching the charter are unconvincing, and material published on the website, mainly consisting of repetitive annual reports, does not provide a satisfactory explanation. That the proposed legislation for the implementation of the Victim Protection Act, including the Victim Protection Amendment Bill of 2019 and the Victim Protection Trust Fund Regulations 2021, have equally taken inordinately long to be enacted without satisfactory reasons. That the petitioner has made efforts to address the matter by the relevant authorities, all of which have failed to give a satisfactory response. That none of the issues raised in this petition are pending in any court of law. The petitioner, therefore, prays the Senate, 1, to investigate the reasons for the delay in the implementation of the incorporation of the Victim Protection Board and the launching of the Victim Rights Charter. 2, inquires into the operations of the Victim Protection Board and its activities since 2014. And lastly, inquires into the role of the Office of the Attorney General and the Department of Justice in the operationalization of the Act. Now, Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 237, I shall now allow comments, observations, or clarifications in relation to the petition for not more than 30 minutes. Now, Honorable Senators, because we only have 30 minutes, I will be requesting or asking we limit the time that a particular speaker takes while making their comments, so that we can have as many as possible of you making their contribution. We will limit it at 3 minutes per senator speaking on this subject. We will proceed in that manner. Senator Mungatana.
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to rise in support of that petition, and I'll just say two things. It is very sad that there are people in this country who have been collecting salaries for the last 8 years as per that petition, and they have not been doing any work, and they've been drawing salaries from the government coffers. Mr. Speaker, it is a very, very deplorable situation, and I want to congratulate the petitioner who has brought this to the attention of this House. Mr. Speaker, which brings me to my second and final point, that I want to stand on this floor of this House to ask the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, who has been a member of Parliament, who has served, we have served together in National Assembly before, and he has been a Speaker of the House, that he can take up an audit of these laws and some of the bodies that have been formed under the laws, Mr. Speaker, so that we don't have these wastages. And when these people are discovered, or the various bodies are discovered, then measures be taken to remedy the situation. Otherwise, I support this petition. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Onyonka.
Mr. Speaker, I actually wanted to reiterate what my my friend Honorable Mungatana has said. And my argument is, Mr. Speaker, if people are being paid and people are assumed to be working and nothing happens, then under those circumstances, my Speaker, I really don't know what to do other than to get the Speaker of the National Assembly to figure it out and come up with an audit so that we can follow up on such issues. Mr. Speaker, I also support the petition, and I hope it will come with better results than what we have right now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the team from Kilifi, Mr. Speaker, we were there 2-3 days ago. Thank you for all the welcoming you gave us. And karibu kwa Senate. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mandago.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the petition because, Mr. Speaker, it is extremely saddening to learn that there are civil servants in this country who can draw salary for more than 8 years without actually their work being well cut out. Mr. Speaker, I think the issue of incorporations of boards is not only limited to the Human Rights Board we are discussing in this petition, Mr. Speaker, but there are quite a number of institutions that are operating outside the law because of the absence of the board. Mr. Speaker, I'm also aware that the Tobacco Fund has been operating for quite some time without a board. I think this time those organizations are given a timeline. Mr. Speaker, I wish to ask this House that even as the petition is going to be discussed and the committee that is going to handle this petition, a specific timeline should be given for incorporation of this board so that the functions that were intended can be achieved with the board in place, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the person responsible also for ensuring that this board should have been in place, I think needs to be sanctioned and reprimanded for making this country lose in terms of paying salaries without actually getting work done. I beg to support this petition, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Muma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to support, to contribute. I support the petition. Mr. Speaker, victim protection is provided for under the Constitution, and the law to effect victim protection was actually put in place way back in 2014. Mr. Speaker, the petitioner is absolutely correct, and I suggest that the matter be placed before the jailer committee with a timeline on when we can actually look into what these civil servants have been doing in the name of this board, in the name of this institution, and to see how this can be operationalized as soon as possible. I think if we do this and provide the executive with the necessary recommendations, we can actually stem a lot of abuse that is going on with institutions that are live but are not delivering any services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mazayo, kindly have your seats. Honorable Senators, there being no other senator wishing to contribute to this petition. I know you're there, but you're not on my queue. So Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 237, I shall now allow comments. Pursuant to Standing Order 238-1, the petition is hereby committed to the Standing Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs for its consideration. In terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading this prayer to respond to the petitioners by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
The Majority Leader, kindly proceed to lay the papers. And thereafter, the Chairperson Standing Committee on Education to lay his paper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, the 3rd of May, the year of our Lord 2023. Being, Mr. Speaker, reports of the Auditor General and the financial statements of the year ended 30th June 2022. Of 1, Homa Bay County Executive Car Loan and Mortgage Members Scheme Fund, Homa Bay County Alcoholics Control Fund, Municipality of Homa Bay County Emergency Fund, County Revenue Fund for the County Government of Homa Bay, Kajiado County Education Bursary Grants and Scholarships Fund, Kajiado Alcoholic Drinks Control Fund, County Executive of Narok, Narok County Assembly, Narok County Assembly for Car Loans, Grants and Mortgages Fund, Mombasa County Assembly Car Loan and Mortgage Fund, Mombasa County Consolidated Revolving Fund, Mombasa Elimu Fund, County Executive of Taita Taveta, County Assembly of Taita Taveta, County Assembly of Taita Taveta Car Loan Scheme Fund, County Executive of Kisii, County Assembly of Kisii, Kisii County Assembly Members Loan and Mortgage Fund, Kisii County COVID-19 Emergency Fund, Kisii County Health Facilities Improvement Fund, Nandi County Emergency Fund, Baringo County Executive Mortgage Scheme Fund, Baringo County Cooperative Development Fund, Baringo County Micro and Small Enterprise Fund, Baringo County Lake Bogoria Community Grant, County Executive of Kilifi, County Assembly of Kilifi Car and Mortgage Scheme Fund, County Assembly of Kilifi, Municipality of Kilifi, County Microfinance Mbegu Fund, County Revenue Fund for County Government of Kilifi, Kilifi County Health Services Improvement Fund, Samburu County Executive Staff Mortgage for Members Scheme Fund, County Government of Samburu County Revenue Fund, County Revenue Fund for County Revenue Fund of Migori, Yata Water Services Company Limited, Makueni County Revenue Statements Receiver of Revenue, Muranga Water and Sanitation Company Limited, Laikipia County Assembly Members Car Loan and Mortgage Fund, Municipality of Nyamira, Kwale Water and Sewerage Company Limited, Ewazonyiro North Water Basin Development Authority, Nanyuki Water and Sanitation Company Limited, Isiolo County Education Bursary Fund, and Mr. Speaker, sir, County Revenue Fund for the County Government of Machakos. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I lay the said papers.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Education, or any member from that Standing Committee. We don't have any member from the Standing Committee on Education. Yes, kindly proceed to lay the paper on behalf of your committee.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the paper before the Senate. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, the 3rd May 2023, report of the Standing Committee of Education on its consideration of the Learners with Disability Bill, Senate Bill number 3 of 2023. On behalf of the Chair Standing Committee of Education. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Senator Ledama, these are statements pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. The senator is not present. This statement is dropped. Senator Hamida Kibwana.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, Senator Hamida Kibwana alikuwa ameniambia nimshikie brief. I don't know how to ni mwakilishe, kwa sababu hata kuweko kuendelea na hili swali. Kwa Bwana Spika, nataka nitoe taarifa tu ya kwamba Senator Kibwana atakuwa hawezi kuendelea na hii statement yake. Bwana Spika, nilikuwa nataka vile vile nikuombe ruksa kwa heshima na taadhima ya kwamba tukiangalia katika ule upeo wa kupumzika wa spika ndani ya bunge la Senate, wa kuketi, si wa kupumzika, wa kuketi. Bwana Spika, kunao waheshimiwa wa bunge la Kilifi County, Kilifi County Assembly, pamoja na baadhi ya wafanyikazi wa county ya Kilifi. Bwana Spika, kwa sababu nilikuwa nimechelewa, nitaomba unipatie dakika moja niweze kujiunga pamoja na wewe na maseneta wenzangu. Kwanza kuwashukuru kwa sababu wamekuja katika bunge letu la Senate kwa sababu ya kujifundisha mengi ambayo hawezi kuyafahamu. Na vile vile Bwana Spika, ni kwamba
what is the point of order? And before you proceed to make the point of order, yes, before you proceed to make your point of order, I had actually granted the minority leader 1 minute. Immediately he's done with the business of holding brief for and on behalf of Senator Hamida, he utilizes a minute to welcome the delegation from his home county. So I have given him that latitude for 1 minute.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, yule huyu Senator Boni Halwale yeye ni mpiganaji wa kupigana na ng'ombe, lakini hilo swali la kutafakari. Bwana Spika, pia vile vile nataka nikushukuru kwa sababu watu wa Kilifi wakijua kwamba mimi ndio senator wao, nataka kuwashukuru pia vile vile kwa sababu si rahisi jambo hili kufanyika, lakini kwa mara ya 3 nimeweza kurudi na kuweza kushirikiana na wenzangu, maseneta wenzangu hapa ndani ya bunge la Senate kwa mara ya 3, na nataka kuwashukuru sana. Nafikiria kama ndugu zangu kutoka sehemu hiyo, nataka kusema tu ya kwamba yale yote ambao wamejifundisha hapa na yote ambao wataendelea kujifundisha hapa, wakati wakirudi nyumbani wataweza kuangalia yale yanayofaa, yanayoweza kuingizika katika ile bunge letu la Kilifi County ili waweze kuendelea mbele zaidi. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Chirankei. That statement is dropped. Next order, clerk. No, it's deferred. Yes. The statement by Hamida Kibwana, Senator, is deferred, but the statement by Senator Olekina and the statement by Senator Chirankei, those 2 statements are dropped. Honorable Senators, if you look at the order paper, Order 8, 9, these are orders that are ready to go for division. And looking at the quorum and the numbers present, we may not be able to go through the division today. And therefore, I will move to rearrange the sequence of the order of today's afternoon. We will leave order number 8, 9, 10, and 11 and proceed to prosecute order number 12 in the order paper, which is a motion adoption of the report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on a statement sought on the relocation of National Government Administrative Services from Chuka Town to Katwana County Headquarters, Tharaka Nithi. This is a motion by the Chairperson, Standing Committee on Devolution. Clerk, kindly proceed to call that order.
Order number 12, motion, adoption of the report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on a statement sought on the relocation of National Government Administrative Services from Chuka Town to Kadwana County Headquarters, Tharaka Nithi County.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations. Can you kindly power the microphone of the Honorable Senator, please?
Yeah, it's there. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I seek to move the report on a statement sought by Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofire, MP, on the relocation of National Government Administration Services from Chuka Town to Kadwana County Headquarters, Tharaka Nithi County. Mr. Speaker, at a sitting of the Senate held on Wednesday, 19th October 2022, the Senator for Tharaka Nithi, Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofire, rose pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations. The statement was on the relocation of government administration services from Chuka Town to Kadwana Town, headquarters of the Tharaka Nithi County. Mr. Speaker, during its consideration and deliberations on the statement on 27th October 2022, the Senator for Tharaka Nithi, Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofire, who sought the statement, explained that despite having Kadwana as the gazetted county headquarters, the National Government Administrative Services are yet to relocate to the town from Chuka Town. He also stated that most residents find it expensive to access national government offices at Chuka Town. Mr. Speaker, in its bid to respond to the requests, the committee took the following course of action. 1, the committee wrote to the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government to seek information on issues raised in the statement. 2, the committee also organized and carried out a county visit to Tharaka Nithi County for further investigation on the matter. 3, the committee held meetings with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the Controller of Budget on the stalled buildings of the county headquarters and the County Assembly of Tharaka Nithi. Mr. Speaker, the committee held meetings with several stakeholders, in an effort to shed light on the issues raised during the visit to Tharaka Nithi County. The committee was made aware that in 2014, the County Assembly of Tharaka Nithi had initiated the process of construction of an ultra-modern county assembly in Kadhwana. The project had failed to progress as anticipated due to challenges caused by lack of release of funds. What happened? All right, thank you very much. The project had failed to progress as anticipated due to challenges caused by lack of release of funds from the controller of budget following investigations by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission into the project over alleged misappropriation of funds. Mr. Speaker, in its investigations, the committee observed as follows concerning the county headquarters. One, that following the conditional grant allocated to Tharaka Nithi to supplement financing and construction of the county headquarters, the project was stalled at 82% completion. Two, there was lack of adequate infrastructure in Kadhwana to accommodate all national government departments, which has been a major issue hindering the operationalization of Kadhwana headquarters. The available offices had been allocated to 6 departments, including the county commissioner and the deputy county commissioner. 12 other departments have no space, among them the Kenya Police, the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, Land Registry, and the Land Control Board. 3, the civil servants posted to Kadhwana would also face the challenge of finding accommodation since the town has no residential quarters, including those of the county commissioner and the deputy commissioner. Number 4, additionally, Kadhwana lacks the necessary amenities for a functional county headquarters, among them good all-weather roads, electricity, reliable water supply, referral hospital, law courts, upgraded post office with a Huduma Center, among others. Considering the construction of the county assembly chambers, Speaker, 1, that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission had put a stop to the construction of the county assembly as it carried out the following 2 investigations. 1, inquiry into irregular procurement of consultancy services for architectural designs for the construction of the Tharaka Nithi County Assembly Block at a tender sum of Kenya shillings 62,764,622, and B, inquiry into the procurement for the construction of the County Assembly of the Tharaka Nithi Block at a tender sum of Kenya shillings 369,642,688. In the 7 years the Commission had been carrying out its investigations, it has placed a caveat at the COB stopping the disbursement of funds to the county for the project. This has consequently clawed back smooth service delivery to the people of Tharaka Nithi County. Number 2, scaling down the project since the size of the proposed structure was significantly larger than what the Assembly's 26 members actually required. Mr. Speaker, during his visit to Tharaka Nithi County on 12th March 2022, His Excellency the President recommended scaling down the cost of the project to Kenya shillings 200 million, down from the 369,642,688. Mr. Speaker, the statement also sought that the committee recommends that the towns of Chogoria, Chuka, and Marimanti to be designated as commercial industrial towns. However, the committee observed that this is outside the mandate of the committee, as the process of granting town status is provided for in the Urban Areas and Cities Act 2011. Nevertheless, the committee recommends that the county government grants the town's commercial status in line with the provisions of the law. Consequently, Mr. Speaker, the committee in its report makes recommendations for 2 multi-agency technical committees to be constituted to investigate and resolve the issues concerning the construction of the county headquarters and county assembly, respectively. Membership of these multi-agency technical committees should be drawn from the Office of the Deputy President, State Department of Devolution, the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, National Treasury, the Ministry of Public Works, the Office of the Attorney General, the County Executive Department in charge of Public Works and Housing, Office of the Governor, the County Assembly, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Controller of Budget, and any other relevant entity. Details of their terms of reference are also indicated in the report, and the role that this August House shall play in receiving their final reports. Mr. Speaker, the Standing Committee of Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations wishes to thank the Office of the Clerk and the Right Honorable Speaker for their steadfast support in executing its mandate. With those few remarks, I beg to move that the House adopts the report of the committee and call upon Senator Chute to second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Who is the second of this motion? Senator Chute, kindly proceed to make your secondment.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to second this report, but I would want to add 2 things that the Senate should note. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, county headquarters, the funds are being channeled through Ministry of Works, and most of the headquarters, most of them have not been completed. And I would suggest counties to be given money through conditional grant so that they can build their own headquarters efficiently, and that is what has been happening in most cases. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to second this report.
Honorable Senators, kindly have your seat. Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that the Senate adopt the report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on a statement sought on the relocation of national government administrative services from Chuka Town to Kathwana County Headquarters, Tharaka Nithi County, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 19th April 2023. Senators, the floor is now open. Senator Oburu Odinga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, sir, I must from the outset state that I'm a member of this Committee of Devolution. And Mr. Speaker, I also want to state that I'm one of those senators who visited Tharaka Nithi and visited both Chuka and Kathwana. Mr. Speaker, it is a very, very sorry state of affairs when it takes almost 10 years, 10 good years, Mr. Speaker, because of pulling ropes between various institutions of government. Mr. Speaker, when we visited Kathwana, it was a very, very sorry state of affairs, Mr. Speaker, because we went to the assembly and the meeting, I mean the reception where the assembly receives people and also have a bit of recreation is under a tree, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this was very, very surprising, and even where they sit as an assembly is awkward, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was so surprised that just resolving an issue of corruption, if there was corruption in the award of the consultancy services and also in the implementation of the project, Mr. Speaker, why should it take 10 good years for Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate and come out with a report? Mr. Speaker, the sufferer or the people who are the people who are suffering are the people of Katwana, the people of Tharaka Nithi, who are not getting the services, proper services, because of delay in implementation of a project, which to me looked very straightforward. But when it now comes to issues, when you ask the Corruption and Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, we call them here and talk to them. And when you talk to them, they take this matter very, very, very lightly. They say, we are few, that's why we are unable to investigate. But in any case, we have not stopped the implementation of the project. It can just go on. How can it go on when there is a query, when the anti-corruption is still investigating, and then they are saying they have not stopped it, and they don't know why it is not continuing? Mr. Speaker, it is very unfortunate again that we have to recommend formation of a task force, which is also going to consume taxpayers' money to again do what should have been done, obviously, by those arms of government which are involved in the implementation. Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't want to speak much because this is a matter in which I was involved. But what I also doubt, Mr. Speaker, is this recommendation to reduce the size. Mr. Speaker, even if you reduce it from 369 to 200 or to 150, this government is broke. It has no money, Mr. Speaker, and there's no way it is going to implement whatever is being proposed, Mr. Speaker. I don't see how it is going to be implemented. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I want to end my remarks and give other senators an opportunity to do the same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Okenyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this motion and urge members to support adoption of this report. At this time, I actually was a member of that committee of devolution and was among the few senators who visited Katwana. And the state that we actually witnessed was really sad. Even the infrastructure to just host the county assembly is wanting. Mr. Speaker, can you imagine the county assembly is actually more of a makeshift, and it's cardboards that are actually separating where a member is actually sitting from the other. I could not imagine that several years after independence, that's where honorable members of county assembly actually sit to prosecute matters of the members in Tharaka Nithi County. It's such a sad situation. And the members' lounge was actually a tree. We are privileged to have a senator's lounge here. The members of county assembly in Tharaka Nithi sit under a tree to deliberate on their issues once they have a break. So, Mr. Speaker, the other senators might not have had an opportunity to be there, but it's really sad. For the first time, I've been in Tharaka Nithi, and I could not imagine that we have such. For once, I appreciated the county assembly of my home county where I hail from. So I actually want to support the devolution committee because we put a lot of work, even considered visiting that county in actually finding out the real issues. They are not even able to host national administrative offices. The county commissioner there was literally begging. So I support this motion and urge fellow senators to support the adoption of this report in whatever proposals they have given, but also issue a stern warning to the county chiefs who are looting public resources instead of availing them to help the citizens whom have elected them to office. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is it an intervention or it's a point of order? Proceed and tell us the point of order and under what standing order are you prosecuting a point of order?
It is, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is not a point of order. It is.
Proceed. What is it? Just give it a name,
Mr.
Senator Chut.
Mr. Speaker, I want to move a motion on adjournment of a motion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise on a point of order, pursuant to Standing Order number 37, to seek leave of the Senate to adjourn to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance, namely the intercommunal killings and displacement of residents in Marsabit County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Moment.
Honorable Senators, you may now have your seat.
Thank you.
Indeed, I'm persuaded that the motion has met the requirements of Standing Order 37.5, and therefore that motion shall be prosecuted at 5:30 p.m. today. Senator Enoch.
Thank you, the Speaker. The Speaker, I stand in support of the report brought by the Senate Standing Committee on Devolution on a matter concerning a neighboring county to Kitui called Tharaka Nithi. The Speaker, I have been to Kadhwana, I've been to Chuka, I've been to Chogoria and Marimanti. And the Speaker, the state of affairs on the offices responsible for public administration, both for the county government and the national government, are a bit appalling. The Speaker, and now that you're seated on that chair, the Speaker, when you say, as the Senator of Meru, when you say that oversight will have to be done at whatever cost, as a Senator of Meru, I support you 100%, the Speaker, because you cannot begin to understand how a government institution is the one that is precipitating the stoppage of the construction of a government institution or administration. The Speaker, I have had the same experience in Kitui. And if you talk to those people of Kitui, they will tell you that, Mr. Speaker, the route you want to take is the route that was taken by the Senator of Kitui between 2017 and 2022. Following leads where they take you. The Speaker, how can the EACC be the one that is responsible for the situation that an entire county now finds itself in? They came to Kitui around 2017, took away files
on procurement and said that they could not clear the contractors to be paid because there were issues with the procurement process. 3-4 years down the line, we had a number of contractors that were bankrupted, whose property was sold by banks, simply because the ESEC is holding on to a file and saying they are still investigating. Now see what is happening in the Rakanithi. Somebody is awarded a project to construct county headquarters. ESEC comes in. They see there's a problem here, so we can't continue the construction. 10 years down the line, now we have members, elected representatives of the people, sitting under trees to deliberate on public issues. What a shame. The Speaker, you know, and I do not want to cast aspersions on anyone. But, Mr. Speaker, when a senator, and I'm not naming any person, when a senator sits in the office of the Senate in their county, it is their responsibility to bring to the fore things that are happening in their county, because all matters are local. There is nothing called a national issue. All issues are local. It is the responsibility of senators to bring their issue to the national level for debate, as the senator for the Rakanithi has done. That the shame that the people of the Rakanithi are suffering today, Mr. Speaker, the same shame is being felt in Meru and in Kitui and in Mombasa and every other county in this country where devolution is supposed to be working. Mr. Speaker, I'll end my contribution by saying this. Even as we adopt the report of the committee, Mr. Speaker, I think this Senate needs to have a serious conversation with the ESEC. We need to have a serious conversation so that we know where their work begins and ends and where development begins. Because they can't always be, you know, when they come into a county, you are doing something, they take away files. And Mr. Speaker, there is a trick that they are using. And I have heard the committee making reference to it. That once they take the files and stop construction or any project, when you push them, they say, but we have not said that you cannot continue. But who wants to continue putting their money on a project that the ESEC has already cast aspersions on? So, Mr. Speaker, the investigations by ESEC on any public institution and construction of any project must be fast-tracked so that within a month or two, they give their verdict, whether construction will continue or it will be stopped. So, Speaker, with those few remarks, I support the report.
Thank you, Senator for Kitui County. Since this report has come to this House through a certain conveyor belt, let us hear now from the OCS so that you can give members insights on what is happening in the Rakanithi County.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm sure you are referring to Senator Rakanithi as a conveyor. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It is true, this matter came to this House through my statement, which I made before this Honorable House. And I want to concur with my brother, my neighbor, Senator Wambua, who has really prosecuted this case very intelligently. Honorable Speaker, it is a very sad story that 10 years down the line, since the inception of devolution, the Rakanithi, the so-called the stronghold, is in a very sad state. I'm happy that when I brought this issue before this Honorable House, Mheshimiwa Speaker, the committee took it upon itself. And I'm happy that I saw a lot of vigor, determination, and the push. Because the committee, through under the chairmanship of my brother, Senator Bass from Wajir, and my sister, Senator Veris Obiko, took it upon themselves to go on a fact-finding mission to Kadana the gazetted county headquarters for Tharaka Nithi. Honorable Speaker, what I saw, and I'm very sure they really and to support me, because they really thought maybe that I was joking when I told them that we are living in makeshifts. It is important for this Honorable House, Honorable Speaker, to note that I have been in those makeshifts for 10 years as a member of the MCA. Quite a number of times, Honorable Speaker, our reception, even today, the MCs who are down there, the reception and done under the trees. That is the Tharaka Nithi County, Honorable Speaker. And all through, we have under serious blame games. Oh, the EACC, oh, the what, oh, the public works. And that blame game has continued for the last almost 12 years now down the line. And it's a blame game, Honorable Speaker, because I remember the Committee on Devolution has been inviting me because I'm not a member of that committee. But when I raise that matter, any other time when they and the EACC, the Controller of Budget, have been attending their meetings. I think that blaming, Honorable Speaker, is something that should be, which has been, of course, been addressed by the committee, and that's why the committee has recommended that we have a joint effort, maybe from the various stakeholders, so that maybe we can resolve that matter. Because, Honorable Speaker, the ACC has been saying we have not stopped the construction. When we go to the governor says he has not received any report from anywhere. So that issue has continued, and that one has subjected the MCs and the entire county into a lot of suffering, and that is basically killing the spirit of devolution. Because, Honorable Speaker, you can imagine those members of the Tharaka Nithi County, or any other public member for that matter, who would want to get services from Tharaka Nithi may not get those services because there are no structures. So it's important, Honorable Speaker, that I want to thank this committee because they have come up with very serious recommendations, and it is not intelligent for the EACC to assume the role of making sure that they have suspended all the activities, maybe in individual councils, under the practice of doing some investigations. Because I don't understand, Honorable Speaker, how investigations can take 15 years down the line without having anybody prosecuted or taken to court or giving any recommendations for that matter. And I think it's high time this out should be in charge and make sure that the EACC also gets accountable and appears before this committee to answer some questions, because they are sabotaging a lot of activities in this county. And I think I've liked what Wambua just said and any other contribute to that matter, including my senior, Dr. Boru. Honorable Speaker, today, if I were to take members to the Tharaka Nithi County Assembly, maybe for public, and the other day I went to Nyandarua. The Nyandarua, they have a very nice county assembly, and any other county for that matter. It is shameful, Honorable Speaker, that I cannot even have the guts to take members of the Senate to address maybe in my county assembly in Tharaka Nithi. So I think this matter should be resolved once and for all, so that maybe we can unlock the stalemate and have the Tharaka Nithi County Assembly constructed and any other structure for that matter put in place for the benefit of the Tharaka Nithi people. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I support the adoption, and I'm happy that the committee has taken its initiative to make sure that Tharaka Nithi gets value for devolution. Thank you.
Okay, Senator Catherine Muma Muyeka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the report. Mr. Speaker, I'm a member of that committee, and I led the team to Tharaka Nithi. Honorable members, I thank Senator Mofaya for raising this issue because it's a shame that we are on the 11th year after devolution, and you have a county assembly that does not have premises because of the ping pong between institutions at the national government. You have the ESCC, you have the COB, you have the county government raising concerns and not factoring the monies to build the county assembly of Tharaka Nithi. Mr. Speaker, it also raises another issue that this Senate needs to address itself to. Mr. Speaker, we need to bring the Intergovernmental Relations Amendment to give financial autonomy to county assemblies. Mr. Speaker, if the budget for building the Tharaka Nithi County Assembly was within the Tharaka Nithi County Assembly budget, that assembly would have been built. But because this has to be channeled through the county executive, the governor's hands were tied, and he felt from the letter of ESCC to COB, he could not factor this money within the budget. And as a result, the County Assembly of Tharaka Nithi was held ransom. Mr. Speaker, even as we get the committee, and it's not a task force, the committee to address this issue and actually agree on how to move forward, we also as a Senate needs to ensure that county assemblies get the financial autonomy so that they can be county assemblies. County assemblies have become puppets of governors because they are dependent on governors for their financial needs. Mr. Speaker, there is the second issue of the headquarters. The Tharaka Nithi headquarters is suffering the problem it does because we were told the Ministry of Works decided to actually carry out that project by itself. And as a result, it has been extremely slow, and a lot of money has been spent, and that project is not yet over. Mr. Speaker, that's why we are saying, I think the national government needs to just give conditional grants to the county governments to build their own headquarters. We are told that is the same case to 6 other county governments that were supposed to have their headquarters built for them. So it's an issue again that the Senate needs to look into to ensure that the funds required for the building of those headquarters, which are not yet done, are passed on as conditional grants and given to county assemblies so that they can fast-track them. It is so sad that Tharaka Nithi designated a headquarters, and 11 years later, the people are operating from another town because they don't have the facilities. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Thank you. Senator Mungatana Danson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to make my contribution on this matter again. On this matter that has been raised by my colleague here, my neighbor, Mheshimiwa Mofai. Mr. Speaker, Tharaka Nithi borders Tana River County on the other side, on the northern side. When they cross over, they come to Tana River. We also do a lot of trade because they give us a lot of miraa, I think. They bring it from that side, and a lot of people from that area have also settled. We have welcomed them in Tana River County. Mr. Speaker, it is very sad to hear the report from the committee that, Mr. Speaker, they don't have a county assembly. They don't have a county headquarters. These buildings are not there, not because of anything else, Mr. Speaker, but because the ESCC has put a caveat on the release of monies for these projects to continue to their completion. Mr. Speaker, there was a big complaint in the Uhuru administration, the just past administration, that the courts are stopping development through injunctions, that the Chief Justice should do something about courts because they are issuing injunctions on government projects, and government projects are not moving because injunctions are being issued by the courts. Mr. Speaker, it is very sad that even in that Uhuru government, because this matter is 7 years, that the ESCC, while the president was talking and complaining about the injunctions from the court, that the ESCC was actually injecting a government project through some mysterious laws application in the guise of investigation. Mr. Speaker, this is really wrong. I remember very well when Uhuru was president, when he was lamenting that the courts are delaying government projects. He gave calculations. He said this money, we have borrowed it. He gave calculations that every year this is the money we are paying on interest because the courts have given injunctions. What about in this situation? ESCC, you have injected 2 big projects of our neighboring county, Tharaka Nithi. How much have they paid in terms of loss of opportunity to develop, loss of opportunity to discuss? The people cannot come even to sit to listen to the honorable members discussing matters. Mr. Speaker, the county headquarters cannot be located from Chuka to where it's supposed to be just because some people in ESCC are sitting on those files. Mr. Speaker, we cannot continue like this. We cannot continue like this. There is no super agency in this country, Mr. Speaker. The courts are the supreme order. If there is an issue, they should have gotten an injunction from the court so that the people can go and argue their case. Maybe this injunction would have been vacated. Why use a law to frustrate development in Tharaka Nithi, Mr. Speaker? It is a very wrong thing for some people to imagine because they are holding some offices, they can dictate and rule over us, even elected people, Mr. Speaker. This is very wrong. ESCC needs to look at itself and ask itself whether there is something right they are doing in stopping a whole county for 7 years from getting their county assembly offices, from getting their county assembly headquarters. What is wrong if you are investigating and finding someone is culpable, surcharging that person? What is wrong in getting the asset recovery to file proceedings and get that money, but the projects to continue? Why put a caveat on money being released for the projects to be finished? So, Mr. Speaker, having understood the problem that is in Tharaka Nithi, our neighbors in Tana River County, from Tana River County, I am surprised by this recommendation that the committee has given. Why is the committee again talking about a multi-agency? Senior Odinga here has told us this task force is going to waste more public funds. Why couldn't they just go straight to the point and recommend the removal of this caveat and investigations to continue, whoever is culpable to be surcharged? Why are we setting up another multifaceted organ to go to Tharaka Nithi again, and yet Senate has already determined the issue? Mr. Speaker, it is wrong. This recommendation should have been amended to hit the nail on the head. It is the money that needs to be released. The money should be released. We should not now set up another agency to go spending public money again and to go wasting more time when the people of Tharaka Nithi are not getting this money. So, Mr. Speaker, my own submission in closing, I recommend that there should be an amendment in terms of this recommendation. That, Mr. Speaker, the recommendation should read straightforward, that the money be released so that the project is finalized, and those who are culpable, asset recovery should come in and collect the money, but the people of Tharaka Nithi should have their project. Mr. Speaker, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mugatana. Senator Mugatana, I was trying to also update myself with the procedures of handling reports. And you know, this is now not a report of the committee, but a report of this House. So any member can make amendments through the right channel to the report. Because as you agree, you are putting it rightly, if you feel that the recommendation is not watertight, you can do the amendments through the normal procedure, through the speaker, and you come up with them, and then that can be considered by members of the Senate. Thank you. Before we proceed, honorable senators, why are you panicking, Senator Manzo? Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, visiting students and lecturers from the University of Eldoret. The group comprises 100 students and 2 lecturers who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Thank you. Let's proceed with the debate of this motion. Senator Manzo Daniel. Sorry, just a minute. Just a minute, Senator Manzo. I'm looking for Senator Mandago. Senator Wasingishu. Senator Kisang. Okay, do it. Welcome the visitors on behalf of the Senator for Wasingishu County.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to welcome the students and the lecturers from University of Eldoret. University of Eldoret was part of Moi University in those days when we had only 4 universities in the country. And I welcome them to Senate to learn. And when they go back, there'll be different students. We encourage you to listen, because majority of the members who are in this house, in their own lives, they were student leaders in the university those days. I also know, Honorable Speaker, the former principal of that university is also here, so I believe you'll also give Professor Kamara an opportunity, because I think she was among the first principals. While I was a businessman, actually they took my hostel for like 5 years in Sokomo, next to the university. Welcome to Senate, enjoy yourselves, and when you go back, you greet our people, but work hard and get disciplined, and you'll be great people in this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I donate 2 minutes to the former principal.
Okay, Honorable Deputy Speaker Emeritus, Senator Professor Kamar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the 2 minutes to welcome students from University of Eldoret, a university I have associated myself with for many years, from when I was principal, 97, 2002. And currently, Mr. Speaker, in fact, I'm a founder chair of the endowment fund for these wonderful students. I want to welcome the students and to tell the students that there is no good result without hard work. To tell the students that their hard work will pay at the end of the day, that patience is the key, and diligence in your work will give us very productive Kenyans, because you are students today, and the future, in the near future, you are going to be professionals in this country. This country is looking for professionals who are ready to be competitive, not only within this country, but also outside the country. But more than that, people who are honest, people who are accountable, and people who are transparent in the work that they are doing. And you see us here in the Senate, since you have come for a learning opportunity in the Senate, we also went through what you are going through. All these senators have been through universities, and because they were able to groom themselves well, they are able to be who they are today. I want to wish you well and to encourage you to groom yourselves to be anything. You can be a professor today, tomorrow you are a minister, the next day you are a speaker. We are telling you that the future is bright, but it belongs to the diligent, it belongs to the brilliant, it belongs to those who are willing to use wisdom. You all the best. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Professor. There's intervention from Senator Kadri Muma. Is it on this visit?
Mr. Speaker, it's just to guide on the committee report, on the amendment that you talked about. Mr.
No, I don't think we need that guidance now. Let members ventilate on the report.
Okay.
Then that can be done at an appropriate time. Senator Manzo?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this particular matter. I am very close to Chuka and where Senator Mofaya comes from, who is also my friend. And that's why I was almost panicky, thinking the opportunity may not be seized. Mr. Speaker, what has happened to that county is very unfair. And Mr. Speaker, the current constitution promotes devolution. Senate is here to promote devolution, and I'm very happy Senator Mofaya brought this matter to Senate, and I believe Senate is going to find a solution. Mr. Speaker, the people of Tharaka Nithi chose Kathwana as their headquarters after public participation. It was now upon government to honor the people and to make sure that first and foremost there is a proper road to Kathwana. I'm told, no tarmac road. And again also to make sure that the headquarters, once the headquarters goes there, it's going to promote schools. You know, there are going to be schools, there's going to be housing, there's going to be construction. It's going to be a very big business people will move there and develop the area. That has not happened, Mr. Speaker, simply because of suspicion. And then, Mr. Speaker, what I would really like to plead with the ESCC, because it's a very important body in this country, full force, that investigation, conclude it as quickly as possible, and give the results, either stop the project or give guidance so that you do not headquarters, Mr. Speaker, are such key and so serious. And I'm surprised because my very good friend, Professor Kindiki, who is now a minister, is even at a better position. He understands that place very well. These things took place when he was a senator. I'm sure he did his level best then. But then he's now centrally in government and can really order things to move around. And in fact, talk to his counterparts like Murkomen to make sure there is a road to that place. And since he sits in cabinet, also to make sure that the agenda of that particular place is advanced. Because now we are delaying a county. And I believe it is the only one now which has gone through this problem. Makueni has a very good headquarters. It has very good county assembly. And when you go there, you almost see the replica of the Senate with the speaker there and the clerk and the whole team. And you have seen them coming here for benchmarking. So we want the same for the Tharaka Nithi, the great people of the Tharaka Nithi, to be equal to the other parts of Kenya and to feel very well represented by their Senator Mofaya. And therefore, Senator Mofaya, they should even give you another term in Senate because you have really changed, and I'm sure you are going to turn around this. With the help of this Senate, we are going to make sure this headquarters is achieved. And I'm personally going to work hand in hand with you to make sure that the people of your county don't suffer the injustice they have suffered so far. So ESCC has to release quickly. The so-called caveat is real. If you are being investigated as a contractor, will you money into that project? And again, a very sad thing has happened. There is no longer budget into these projects because year after year, you know, the county government and the county assembly cannot keep on allocating budget. And again, also, this is the role of central government to do the headquarter and to do the county assemblies. The minister of the people of the Tharaka Nithi be served properly. When will justice be visited upon them? I really want to urge the current government to raise and intervene and get things moving. ESCC cannot take 11 years. I understand they are handicapped with so many things, with the finances, with the staff, and even we have not devolved the ESCC properly to the counties. If there was a branch there, then they would have moved faster and given clarification. But I'm also urging ESCC not to participate in politics. A lot of times, ESCC has tended to tilt or to bear the pressure of politics. And I guess that's what happened that particular time. So that they should come up as independent, clear this county, okay, and then we get moving with a very important function of devolution. Tharaka Nithi is very similar to Makueni in many, many aspects. You know, they are also very soon going to have a Grand High Force Dam, which is proposed there, just as Makueni has Twake Dam. And with such huge projects coming up, you really need the county government there and the leadership of that county, together to be able to carry even bigger projects for their people. So, Mr. Speaker, I really want to say that injustice has been occasioned. And I believe what Senator Mugatana has proposed, and it's also being hinted by Senator Muma, is very, very important. As we move on, as we progress, I think we should put our heads together because it's now a report of the House where the Devolution Committee reached. We advance it a little bit, and that's why we are debating it. Come up with a very solid, firm way forward, which will make sure that Senator Mofaya comes out shining more than he has ever shined before. So I believe, Honorable Mugatana, immediately after my contribution, I am going to join you in redrafting this resolution so that we come up with a bitey one which can bite and chew and make sure that Tharaka Nithi has its headquarters, has its county assembly in place, and make the people of Tharaka Nithi as proud as the members of the other county assemblies and the other counties. It is really a very, very serious matter, and I want to thank the good senator for bringing it up. And Honorable Speaker, I thank you for giving him an opportunity to support this great idea. I support.
Thank you. Thank you, Makueni. Senator. Okay, Majority Whip, Senator Dr. Boni Karwale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, indeed, we can't help in agreeing with the Senator for Tana River that this is a very good report of Tana River. Senator Mungatana, yes. You know, you take too much milk in Nandi. Mr. Speaker, this is a very good report by the committee. They only failed in the recommendation. So let us tidy it up to make sure that we do not promote what has taken place for the last 10 years. It is Professor Wilson, Professor of Entomology, who said that parasitism is a beautiful relationship between two organisms where the prey eats where the predator eats the prey in units smaller than one. So the parasitism that takes place on the dark streets of corruption, in the smoking rooms of corruption, is the reason why this matter has dragged on for the last 10 years, because the parasite, EACC, which eats on the implementers of projects, they do not want to kill the project. They want to be eating it slowly slowly. So with the kind of recommendation that you have given, dear chair of the committee, you are now allowing the parasite called EACC to prey on this project, probably for another 5, if not 10 years. I remember, Mr. Speaker, 10 years ago, when we were in this house, Professor Kidura Kindiki fought for the conditional grant that then gave way for the construction of these headquarters. That today, 10 years later, the dream of Professor Kindiki and other leaders of the county has not been realized, begs for the power of this Senate. The power of this Senate to oversight the use of units in counties has not been properly applied. If it had been applied, this problem that is today being unlocked by Senator Mofaya would long have solved this problem. I therefore support, and I wonder how MCS sitting under a tree can oversight a governor who is controlling billions of shillings. 10 years ago, Tharaka Nithi was given 2.3 billion shillings as share of revenue. This has increased over the years to the latest audited accounts of 2019, 2020, it has more than doubled, to the extent that during the 10 years, the Tharaka-Nithi government has controlled in excess of 25 billion shillings, shareable revenue. If you add on the other additional funds, this county government has controlled between 35 and 40 billion shillings that is meant to be oversighted under a tree. Mr. Speaker, it cannot work. In fact, I'm amazed that Senator Mofaya, from a tree, you have grown and joined the Senate. This is the story, the real story of endurement, the real story of bottom-up. If this is the quality of MCAs we have in counties, then I'll be the first proponent to say that before anybody comes to this Senate, they should have walked the journey from MCA to MP, then eventually to Senator. I'm not saying that it's wrong for you to skip the one of MP, but it is good practice for you to have a session there. I therefore support, Mr. Speaker, and so that we do not waste too much time, I hope that the chair will retreat and the committee now that you are drafting the amendment. We should call for immediate release of funds so that the construction can commence. And B, that amendment should also speak to the action to be taken against elements within EACC and the implementers, because it is that cohabitation between the implementer and sections of EACC, and you'll find there are actual officers posted to Tharaka-Nithi who are perpetrating this in the name of investigating, also recommend that action be taken against them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support with amendment.
Senator Ososi Godfrey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've listened very carefully to contributions by members, and it is shocking that Tharaka-Nithi County Assembly, the MCAs are operating in some Mabati structure and not a proper chamber where they are supposed to deliberate from. This is clearly against the spirit of devolution, and I think the Committee for Devolution did a good job to visit Tharaka-Nithi and see for themselves the real situation on the ground. Mr. Speaker, what has not come out very clearly is the politics to it, which I have read through the report, because one of the issues in contention is the fight on the location of the headquarters, with one side saying they want Chuka and the other side saying they want, Kadhwana. And we have seen it even in the media, it has been reported, that there has been fights between the governor and the speaker, where the speaker feels that the governor is trying to quietly undermine the relocation of the headquarters to Kadhwana, which is less underdeveloped compared to Chuka. So that bit clearly should have come out, because as someone has said, EACC in most cases, they want to also get involved in the politics of particular counties, because you cannot get a proper explanation why EACC has taken this in a long period of time to finalize this matter. So I think that bit must also be looked at, Mr. Speaker. The other bit, Mr. Speaker, is the cost of this project has been growing. It has been growing. And in fact, I read somewhere that this particular county assembly is bigger than our National Assembly here. So those are things that we really need to go into as a Senate, so that as we discuss these things, we must look at
the whole matter in totality and make the proper recommendation. I want to agree with Senator Galwale that we need to look at these recommendations and tighten them and make this report be a good example of resolving issues in our counties, particularly on the matter to do with county headquarters. I know, Mr. Speaker, some of these counties which were created, the new districts which were created by President Moi, including Vihiga County, they have always had a problem with the headquarters. Like in my county, people were relocated to create room for the construction of the headquarters. 35 years ago, those people surrendered their land, they were taken to a forest somewhere. Up to now, they don't have titles. So in fact, I want to recommend that one of the issues that the Devolution Committee should look at is the issues to do with the headquarters for counties, particularly the counties which, those new districts that were created by former President Moi. Vihiga being on one of them, the Rakanithi, and I think we also have Mwingi and the others. It is important to look at that. Otherwise, I want to agree that EACC must be must do their work diligently within the shortest time possible, and it's a high time, Mr. Speaker, they should also be answerable for their actions, because we cannot have investigations which are going on forever. And some of those investigations are also motivated by corruption, and that's why they take too long. And are also motivated by politics of the day. That's why they take too long. So that's why, Mr. Speaker, I think that apart from the challenge of EACC, there are local politics which must be looked into, and I want to thank Senator Movaya for taking up this challenge. The senator who was there, who is now a very powerful CS, did nothing about this problem. But Senator Mofaya has acted very diligently, and I want to commend him for, rising from under the tree in that county assembly and becoming a senator. I think that's commendable, and he's the best person to resolve this problem, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support this report, but with amendments.
What is your point of honor? What is it? Okay, Senator Chaligay, make your contribution as you execute your point of order.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to start where Senator Otsotsi, who is my neighbor, has cast aspersions to my brother and friend, the powerful CS Senator Professor Kithure Kindiki, that he did nothing. Since Senator Otsotsi is new, he can benefit from the ranking members like some of us of being made aware that Senator Professor Kithure Kindiki was one of the people who we pushed for the issue of division of revenue. And I remember, Mr. Speaker, sir, when we were discussing division of revenue formula with the minority whip, Senator Ledama, Senator Fake, among other colleagues on the floor of the House, he was very passionate about unfair formula that will disadvantage Tharaka-Nithi, Kitui, Makueni, and many other counties, Mombasa, and many other counties. So, Senator Otsotsi, it's important to console your elders before you go on record and cast aspersions. Mr. Speaker. Senator Kindiki, the Deputy Speaker Emeritus, did landmark rulings that even high courts of this Republic of Kenya did even borrow word by word, copy and paste in their decisions, including the famous NMS. Mr. Speaker, although he was later kicked out unceremoniously, of course, with the Jubilee purge, he left his head all high up, and his role in this house will forever. He was the first majority leader also in this house. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, he is the son of Tharaka that is respected within Tharaka Nithi and outside Tharaka, Mr. Speaker. I'm saying this in good faith. I'm not saying to get anything from him, but just for the records to be set straight, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, it is the Tharaka Nithi, Mr. Speaker, and I know Senator Otsotsi, Mr. Speaker, is still is a seasoned parliamentarian from the lower house, but with time we will be picking up lessons and information in this upper house. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this report. Mr. Speaker, I have sat for some time in the Public Accounts Committee. One of our resource persons is EACC. But on this one, I feel let down by EACC. So, Speaker, 7 years down the line, having issued caveat, what is EACC investigating? What are they investigating, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, sir, even when somebody, before they marry, I think it is 21 days that AG gives out, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, even when you receive Christ, not the one of Mackenzie and Ezekiel, it doesn't take that long for people who went to Kitibio, Mr. Speaker, to be received the first Holy Communion. What is EACC investigating on this issue? You know, I don't understand. Mr. Speaker, this is the highest form of incompetence by the agency of a government, Mr. Speaker. It is unfortunate, and I sympathize and empathize with the MCS of Tharaka Nithi, Mr. Speaker. EACC, the report, the Vice Chair, I think Senator Peris Topiko, I expected you to issue a directive that EACC within 21 days to conclude the investigation and remove that caveat. Mr. Speaker, we are coming at the tail end of funding to county headquarters and county assemblies, including governor's residence and speaker's residence, Mr. Speaker. We are taking too long. It is unfortunate that 15 years, 10 years down the line, Tharaka Nithi is lacking behind. Not because it is their wish, it is because EACC has put a caveat. So, Speaker, EACC is a creature of the Constitution. It is resourced by taxpayers, Mr. Speaker. They need to do their job. It is as simple as that. 7 years down the line, Mr. Speaker, I shudder at the thinking that EACC can take 7 years to investigate a matter. What happened with many cases of counties that corruption cases, that litany of corruption cases, Mr. Speaker? And therefore, unless EACC does not have capacity, does not have competence, it can be disbanded. We can form another one, Mr. Speaker, sir. Unless EACC has gone into public relations exercise in discharging its duty, Mr. Speaker. So I don't see any reason. The committee, Mr. Speaker, should immediately give us direction, Senator Mungatana and Senator Peris Tobiko, that they should order, and I propose that we bring amendment to this report, that EACC to give a report within 21 days upon adoption and resolution of the House report, Mr. Speaker, so that it can allow the people of Tharaka to build their seat, their county assembly, to allow MCAs. And I want to congratulate Senator Mwenda Kataya, who is our member, a very efficient member, Mr. Speaker. He's a proof of bottom-up. He came from an MCA to a very serious senator of Tharaka Nithi, and I don't have a doubt in his capacity. Having served in where we served together in the Public Accounts Committee, he has shown a lot of knowledge, past knowledge, Mr. Speaker. You cannot imagine that he's the first-term senator. He is doing extremely well, very well, Mr. Speaker. And seizing matter of this, I want to challenge you, Senator Mofire. You have the blessings of your colleagues on the floor of the House. We will work together through these baby steps to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that the great people of Tharaka Nithi. The second point, Mr. Speaker, I have seen, you know, Mr. Speaker, what shocks me is that these agencies work together. One of the reports says is awaiting subdivision and change of registration to accommodate the new user. County government has a role in playing in terms of land. National Land Commission is a custodian of both public, community, and private land. So what do you need? Is it, do we need to call upon the Senate, to guide agencies of government to work together, Mr. Speaker, to complement each other. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to be serious. Because yes, the report is here. So I expected the report to direct that the National Land Commission, the county government of Tharaka Nithi, where my good friend, the governor, Utomi Njoki, or the governor, to work together. So if you tell us they are still waiting for change of user, land control board, the stagnation, Mr. Speaker, these are agencies of government that they need to work together. Like the county government of Tharaka Nithi, the National Land Commission, the county assembly, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, they need to work together for the benefit of the... Number 3, Mr. Speaker, another point that I wanted to make is the issue of headquarters in Katwana as opposed to Chuka Town. Mr. Speaker, if we want to develop this country in an equitable manner, Mr. Speaker, sir, and you are a neighbor there, you come from the great people of Meru, and I'm told, I don't know whether you are a member of Jurinjeke, respectable and adored members of Jurinjeke. Of course, from your beard, the way you look...
Senator Cheri, I want to confirm that I'm a senior member. Senior Eonda Jurinjeke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The way you sit on that seat and your beard, Mr. Speaker, it looks you are a man full of wisdom. In fact, and the hat that he's wearing. Mr. Speaker, in fact, you should be the chairman of Jurinjeke, not only a member. Yes. Mr. Speaker, the issue of headquarters, if we want to develop this nation, Mr. Speaker, we must allow... You cannot say the reason Katwana is not the county headquarters is because people don't know where to live. There is no accommodation. All these senior public officers, they want to go and stay in 5-star hotels in Katwana. Mr. Speaker, if we want there to grow, we must be deliberate, ensuring. I've seen there is no DCI will have an office, which will have an office, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we must be deliberate and ensure that the headquarters moves from Chuka Town to Katwana, where it is gazetted. How can we ensure Katwana develops as the county headquarters of Tharaka Nithi? If the county commissioner, if the DCIO, if these people do not want to move there simply because there is no running water, simply there is no 5-star hotels and somewhere there in Katwana, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, we must be deliberate. The only way to develop this country is to allow places like Katwana host what it has been gazetted for. Mr. Speaker, I want to challenge my brother also, former Deputy Speaker Emeritus and the CS of Interior, Senator Professor Kithure Kindiki, to facilitate the construction of other amenities, including the NGA offices, National Government Administration offices, Mr. Speaker. That is the only way we'll develop, Mr. Speaker. This town is around, I'm told, there are 4 million. This city, when it rains, Mr. Speaker, you saw when it rains, like Mombasa Road, the lower deck, Kenyans were swimming. The vehicles were swimming, Mr. Speaker. This town is clogged. There are no playing spaces, Mr. Speaker. The reason all these Kenyans come to Nairobi is because of a service. I want to thank the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, for saying 5,000 services will be digitized in e-citizen. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't make sense to have somebody from Marmanati or Makutano all the way from Meru in Buri to come all the way to look for a passport. Here in Nyayo. From Marsabit, all the way from Mandera, all the way to come and look for service, which they are paying for. It's not a favor you are doing to them, Mr. Speaker. The reason this city is congested is because if, Mr. Speaker, sir, and mark my words, if devolution works 100%, Mr. Speaker, there will be no congestion in Nairobi. I can tell you for free. In fact, if devolution works properly, Mr. Speaker, sir, no one will care who becomes the president of Kenya. Because you will be getting the service where you are. It is as simple as that, Mr. Speaker. We are developing Nairobi. We are building Korofa roads, the expressway. We are bringing everything to Nairobi. Every investor is in Nairobi, Mr. Speaker. It's like I said yesterday on the floor of the House, it is like we are saying, there is a slang song that is like we are saying the rest of Kenyans, like people who come from Turkana. I didn't see Senator. But nowadays, Mr. Speaker, they have oil. I can see even the face of Senator Lomenen has changed. Because you know that's dollar money. It's called oil money, Mr. Speaker. It's like we are telling the rest of Kenyans, enda usikie vibaya huko kwenu. There is a song that sings that, Mr. Speaker. But I know as during Jeka, you rarely visit some of those places where some of us listen to those songs. Mr. Speaker, we must agree as a nation that devolution to work, I've seen, and I saw some colleagues of mine, Article 96, and it is good the minority whip is in the House, and our senior, who represented this nation ably, Senior Senator Oburu Odinga, one of the youthful senators on the floor of the House, that for devolution to work, we must protect it. But we don't only protect it by giving resources, we must demand answers and accountability. Mr. Speaker, there is a misnomer, and it is good we have visitors, that the minority side have been pushing, that we slash money going to counties. I've seen our colleagues saying it in birthday parties, Mr. Speaker, in baby showers, in funerals, in weddings, Mr. Speaker, even in their bedrooms, telling their wives we have slashed their money. We have not, including their clandestines. We have not. The money that went, and the majority leader was with me here, Senator Aaron Cheruiyot and Senator Ledama, Senator Mwaruma, my very good friend, Senator Faki. Mr. Speaker, the money that went to counties in last financial year was 370 billion. The money that is going this year, and I want Kenyans to get this straight. You know, when they said in public rallies, we don't care because those are just stories and gossip, is 385 billion that was ascended by the president. There was additional 15 billion to counties. But the challenge we have in this country, 3 what? Mr. Speaker, you know, you need to call standing order number 121 against the Senator.
Chaliye, why are you stopping your debate? You are doing so well, and then you are distracted.
Mr. Speaker, you know I'm worried. Senator Faki, normally, you know, they are professionals in heckling, so I was being careful. You know, Mr. Speaker,
you know you are doing so well. I can see also
what is happening in the country, Mr. Speaker. You know, when heckling happens in the House, I'm worried, and you know he's my senior in the profession. So we might talk to LSK to reconsider some of these things that they do. Mr. Speaker, we cannot lie for the political convenience and political capital that we have slashed monies to counties. In fact, I want to challenge the Senate because the chair of PIC and a member of PIC is seated in front of me. I want to see the same energy that you are demanding resources go to counties. We demand the accountability. I know PIC and PAC are morticians. We only come in at the tail end, Mr. Speaker. When we are like morticians, Mr. Speaker, we just give postmortem report. The PIC and PAC, there is nothing much we can do. But in this report, Mr. Speaker, it can be used to give direction on what it can be done, Mr. Speaker, by the Committee of Devolution. And the Committee of Devolution can assist us by demanding some of these issues, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, finally, on the issue of issuing the issue of commercial industrial towns, I think the county government and your governor should agree on how they can award municipal towns, municipal centers, Mr. Speaker. Also, I want to challenge the great people of Katwana because through Senator Mo Fire, challenge people of Tarakaniti, businessmen and women in Nairobi who have interest, but they come from Tarakaniti. Go back and develop Katwana. The charity begins at home. You start at Jerusalem. I know, and I know of big businesses who come from Tharaka Nithi. Go back and invest at home. You know, those are things no one will tell you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we also challenge the neighbors like you, Senator Katuri Murungi, the Deputy Speaker, to even build something in Katwana. That's how they can develop. Because the report says there is no houses to live. So I don't know what people live in Katwana, but I want to believe they live in houses. It is also the people of Katwana and people of Tharaka, Mr. Speaker, to invest in Tharaka and in Katwana specifically, so that businesses can go there. We will not legislate on site, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is to implore on them to go back and develop their town, Mr. Speaker, but to urge other government agencies, finally, Mr. Speaker. The government agencies like DCIO, the police, they are saying there is no houses to live. The Gazette notice that was issued, Mr. Speaker, sir, says the county headquarters is Katwana, Mr. Speaker, sir. We need them, hata kama wataweka kuweka, they will need to put even a temporary nyumba ya nyasi there. They need to do it, Mr. Speaker, sir. Even the great people of Turkana live in Manyatas and the Maasais, there is no problem. Mr. Speaker, that you must charge agencies that have refused to set their offices in Katwana. They must be surcharged, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, with those very, very remarks, looking at the time and giving opportunity to my colleagues, and to congratulate Senator Mofaya, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to second that with this motion and success, Senator Mofaya Kataya should be given a second term as the member of the Senate on behalf of the people of Tharaka Nithi, and should be given a position to be an elder of the community. With those very, very remarks, I support and wish thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Olekina Lendama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me begin by thanking the distinguished senator from Tharaka Nithi, a gentleman and a half, for actually bringing this statement and moving this Senate to be able to consider deliberating on it and giving it a way forward. Mr. Speaker, one of my greatest pet peeves is when we, as the legislative arm of government, now move away from our responsibility and start really trying to follow the advice of another arm of government. That, Mr. Speaker, is very dangerous. For all the years that I've been in this parliament, I have never seen, Mr. Speaker, a report that quotes the President of the Republic of Kenya as a guiding principle in terms of steps or resolutions of this House. Mr. Speaker, I'm actually perturbed because one of the things that we ought to be thinking about is how we ensure that devolution works. But when, on this, almost on the 11th year of devolution, we are still depending so much on the executive, Mr. Speaker, devolution will not work. Mr. Speaker, I've seen a comment, which I take with great exception, as a recommendation that the committee of the Senate says, let us pursue the recommendation given by the President that we scale down. Scaling down, as it may be for the Tharaka Nithi Assembly, but honestly, that is a matter that has to be decided by the people of Tharaka Nithi. And if this Senate is to recommend, it is based on the division of revenue, based on the CARA, on how much money we give to the county. Mr. Speaker, I've seen another misdemeanor here saying that the ESCC has got powers to stop the control of budget from releasing money. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is quite clear that article, I think it's Article 225, if I'm not wrong, that gives directions on how money can be stopped from being sent to a county. And it is only for a very short period of time. I think it's 90 days, if I'm not wrong. In fact, it says 2254, it says a decision to stop the transfer of funds under clause 3 may not stop the transfer for more than 50% of the funds due to county government. A decision to stop, number 5, to stop the transfer of funds as contemplated in clause 3 shall not stop the transfer of funds for more than 60 days, Mr. Speaker. So when, Mr. Speaker, I see a report of this Senate indicating that the controller of budget had received a caveat set by ESCC, Mr. Speaker, I begin to question our understanding of the rule of law. ESCC cannot stop any money from being sent to a county. The Constitution is clear. The maximum you can stop, if there are any reasons, and if we read Article 225, it is quite clear on who can stop that money and for how what period of time. So, Mr. Speaker, I want us to try and understand and demystify the issues on this statement, which we are now being called to consider in this House. Do we in this Senate have the powers to compel the people of the Rakanidi to be able to complete their projects? And I dare say we do not have, Mr. Speaker. The only thing we have is the power to send money to the people of the Rakanidi. The people of the Rakanidi, Mr. Speaker, in their annual development plan and also in their county integrated development plan, plans on how they can be able to build their county. One of the problems that I'm seeing here, Mr. Speaker, is a problem of interest. Yes, sitting here on the floor, on this House, Mr. Speaker, for the last 6 years, and also being a member of the County Public Accounts Investment Committee, then I was privy to information of the Rakanidhi's accounting. I remember the governor of the Rakanidhi had one day surrendered himself to ESCC because of corruption. And actually even spent a night, he did a night or 2 nights in jail. So the issue here, Mr. Speaker, is an issue of corruption. How do we deal with that issue of corruption? The issue here, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of another arm of government being used to be able to derail development in a county. If, for instance, Mr. Speaker, this matter was taken to court and an injunction from court, not from ESCC, says that that money cannot be spent, then we have to find out how we are going to interpret even the PFM Act, Mr. Speaker, because our counties operate on a cash basis of accounting, not on accrual. We've got a county, Tharaka-Nithi, has got 2 towns of interest, Chuka, and this other one called Kadhuana. Mr. Speaker, from the basic research that I've done, I see that the Chuka town has only about 20,000 people. Kadhuana has got 65,000 people. Basic logic, Mr. Speaker, which town would better serve people? Is it a town that has got 20,000 people for services to be in that town, or for services to be moved to a town that has got over 65,000 people? It's a basic thing, Mr. Speaker. And I think the members of the County Assembly of the Rakanidhi have got to listen carefully. They have got the power. They are the ones who pass the budget. Pass the budget, and from their allocation, your own allocation, ensure that your development, first of all, is to move you from Mabati structures to a decent assembly that will accommodate all the 26 elected MCAs plus the other nominated. So, Mr. Speaker, the people who are failing in doing their job here, it is not ESCC, it is not the control of budget, it is the MCAs of the Rakanidhi. And I want to challenge them. And thank you, Senator Moffat, for bringing this matter. I want you to invite me to go there to tell these people. They are the ones with the power. Let them pass their budget. Let them start building it slowly by slowly. If allocating 367 million in a small county of Tharaka Nithi is a lot for the county assembly, take it year by year. Put it as part of your annual development plan, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when I start hearing things that there is no DCI headquarter, there is no county commissioner's office, we are mixing things here, Mr. Speaker. Let the national government handle its business. Let the county government handle their business. I think the first thing we need to do here, Mr. Speaker, is to separate between the two arms of government. And any time when we want to pass certain services from the county government to the national government, let this constitution guide us. I believe it's Article 187 to 189 that will guide us in terms of that. So, Mr. Speaker, as I support this statement, or rather motion, there are a few things that I really think they are necessary. And this is one of the things that we'll have to remove from this motion. Why should we set up a multi-agency committee? Why? I remember very well, Mr. Speaker, that there was, I think, a list of 5 counties which were given a grant to build their headquarters. Tharaka Nithi was not among them, or was it? It wasn't among them. So it behooves the people of Tharaka Nithi to spend their own money, the money which is allocated to them, for them to build their county headquarters, for them to be able to grow. And one of the things that, Mr. Speaker, I would want to invite this Senate to do is to now find a way to give county assemblies their full autonomy. Because we have a lot of problems when it comes to county government. The governor controls the money for the assembly. That's why the assemblies cannot do anything. So if we can amend the PFM Act, have 2 different treasurers, have a treasurer for the assembly, have a treasurer for the executive, let's do that so that we stop this mischief. I dare say some of the biggest problems are not really caused by even the assembly themselves. Some of them are caused by the executive. Because there are challenges, there are issues. And Mr. Speaker, I want this distinguished senator from the Tharaka Nithi to go back there. And the day when you are addressing that assembly, please invite us. Let us go guide them. We know maybe it's an issue of capacity, but the 65,000 plus people of this town where it's gazetted as the headquarters should really, their interest should be the one which is leading even the allocation of, the budget allocation in Tharaka Nithi. So I want to challenge, as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, I want to challenge the county assembly, the MCAs of Tharaka Nithi, and including even the governor. When you are now coming up with your budget, the first thing you should prioritize is for you to have a decent home where you can be able to sit, have small rooms, even if it is small, based on your population, have all the services there, so that you can be able to come up and enjoy the fruits of devolution. Let us stop this dependency on the national government. Sometimes I hear people saying, oh, let's send all the money to the national government. Oh, when we send money to counties, we must ask for accountability. I agree. But our role here in the Senate is to defend devolution, send more money to counties, follow that money, ensure that that money is utilized properly. And this year, I will tell the new senators who have joined us that this year is a year when the law was finally interpreted clearly to be able to give us all the powers. Because the last 10 years, governors were rushing to court, saying senators have got no powers to be able to oversight on own source revenue. But that now, having been cleared, the most important thing is now to take a toothpick and go through the budget of each and every county and ensure that that money is allocated, equitably. It is also deals with the issues that needs to be resolved. So, Mr. Speaker, from Tharaka Nithi, to go back there and tell these people, 1, read the Constitution. ESCC cannot stop money being sent to Tharaka Nithi. They can't. You know, they cannot. Even the court is very clear. She releases money. And Mr. Speaker, if we were to argue about the stopping of money being sent to counties, we've been dealing with issues where counties requisition money to pay Project A, then they end up paying Project B. You know, those are things we are now trying to panel beat the law to see how we ensure that when requisition is for Project A, he pays Project A. And those are very simple administrative steps that we can be able to take. So, Mr. Speaker, I support, and I really thank the distinguished senator from Tharaka Nithi for bringing this matter to our attention.
Thank you, Senator Mohamed Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia ripoti iliyowakilishwa na kamati ya ugatuzi. Nimpongeze pia mimi Senator Mofaya maarufu Mwenda Gataya katika kuwasilisha swala hili mbele ya kamati na bunge la Senate. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni masikitiko kwamba kaunti ya Tharaka Nithi imekaa kwa muda zaidi miaka 10 bila ya kuwa na mahali mwafaka ambapo bunge la kaunti ya Tharaka Nithi linaweza kukaa na kufanya mjadala kuhusiana na kazi zake. Ni masikitiko makubwa Mheshimiwa Spika. Na masikitiko haya Mheshimiwa Spika yameweza kuchangiwa pakubwa na utepetevu katika tume ya ACC ya ufisadi. Badala wao kuchunguza ufisadi ili wende wanaohusika wapelekwe mahakamani, Mheshimiwa Spika, wamekuwa wakichunguza ufisadi, wakenda wakirudi, wao wenyewe pia wanajihusisha katika visa vya ufisadi ambapo kazi imekwama na hakuna njia yote mpaka sasa ambayo imeweza kutolewa kuweza kushughulikia swala hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, yaliyoko Tharaka Nithi ni sawa yaliokuwa katika kaunti ya Kwale wakati walipokuwa wanajenga county assembly. Mwaka 2019 tulizuru kaunti ya Kwale Mheshimiwa Spika, na ikawa pia ujenzi wa jengo la bunge la kaunti ya Kwale lilikuwa limegubikwa katika masuala ya ufisadi. Na kwa hakika makatibu watatu wa bunge la kaunti ya Kwale waliweza kupoteza kazi kwa sababu ya swala lile. Mheshimiwa Spika, japokuwa kaunti ya Kwale sasa ina assembly, mpaka sasa hatujaona nani ambaye ameweza kushtakiwa kutokana na ubadhirifu wa fedha za kaunti ile. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, haya ni masikitiko makubwa na nafikiri ripoti hii japokuwa tunaikubali kwa kiwango fulani, Mheshimiwa Spika, ripoti bado ina mambo mengi ambayo yanatatiza. Kwa mfano, katika ripoti Mheshimiwa Spika, pesa zilizotumika mpaka sasa ni zaidi ya milioni 217 katika pesa ambazo zilikuwa zimekadiriwa kutumika kujenga ujenzi huo. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeona kuna pendekezo kwamba wakubaliane na pendekezo lililotolewa na rais kwamba gharama ipunguzwe mpaka milioni 200. Mheshimiwa Spika, ikiwa tayari zaidi ya milioni 200 zimetumika, itakuwaje gharama ipunguzwe tena irudi chini? Mheshimiwa Spika, pili ni kuwa kamati baada ya kutoa suluhisho imeweza tena kuregesha ichaguliwe kamati nyingine. Sasa sisi tumekuwa baada ya kutoa suluhisho juu ya matatizo yaliyoko, tutatoa nafasi ya kubuniwa kwa kamati zingine ambazo zitazidi kuchelewesha kutatuliwa kwa jambo kama hili. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi sikubaliani na wazo la kamati kwamba kuchaguliwe kamati nyingine ya wanaita multi agency kwa Kiingereza ili iweze kuchunguza swala hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, hii kamati ya bunge la Senate, hapa ndio masuala ya ugatuzi yanakaa, hapa ndio nyumba ya ugatuzi, na kwa hivyo inafaa Mheshimiwa Spika, swala hili liamuliwe kwa ufasaha na kwa ukamilifu. Mheshimiwa Spika, Senator Cherargei katika mazungumzo yake alisema kwamba serikali imetoa bilioni 385 katika mwaka wa 2023-2024 katika mgao wa fedha. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia makadirio ambayo serikali ilipeleka bungeni, ilisema kwamba katika mwaka wa 2023 2023-2024 wanatarajia kukusanya zaidi ya trilioni 2 bilioni 571, ambazo hiyo ni ongezeko la asilimia 17. Mheshimiwa Spika, haiwezekani kwamba serikali itapata ongezeko la asilimia 17 katika mapato yake, halafu serikali ile ile itoe chini ya asilimia 5, less than 5%, Mheshimiwa Spika, ya zile pesa ambazo atakusanya katika mwaka 2023-2024. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kupotosha mawazo kwa Seneta Cherargei kusema kwamba tayari serikali imetoa pesa nyingi. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukilingana na pesa ambazo zitakusanywa na serikali katika muhula huu, na pesa hizi Mheshimiwa Spika zote zinakusanywa katika kaunti zetu. Hakuna mahali ambapo serikali inasema hapa hakuna kaunti. Kenya nzima imegawanywa katika kaunti 47. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, pesa zile zinakusanywa katika kaunti zetu, haikusanyi katika mahali ambapo ni pa serikali kuu peke yake. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba serikali ya kaunti ya Tharaka Nithi, bunge la kaunti ya Tharaka Nithi, wanahitaji mahali ambapo wanaweza kukaa na kufanya mijadala yao kama bunge jingine lolote. Wakati bunge la Tharaka Nithi linakaa, Mheshimiwa Spika, lina heshima kama bunge la Senate, lina heshima kama bunge lolote katika ulimwengu. Kwa hivyo ni lazima wapate mahali ambapo wataweza kukaa na kufanya mijadala yao bila kuingiliwa kwa njia yoyote. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono ripoti hii, lakini ningependekeza kwamba ripoti iweze kukarabatiwa tena, kwa sababu masuala ambayo yamezungumziwa katika ripoti hii, Mheshimiwa Spika, mengi ni kuregesha nyuma. Tutakuwa tarejea tena nyuma kwenda kufanya mjadala, wakati mambo yako hapa. Ni wazi kwamba pesa ziachiliwe, kwa sababu hakuna sheria inayosema kwamba anti-corruption wanaweza kuzuia pesa zisitumike katika muhula ambao zimepangwa pesa zile. Mheshimiwa Spika, huo ni utepetevu wa hali ya juu kwa tume ya anti-corruption kuweza kutoa pendekezo ama kuzuia pesa zisifanyike wakati hawana maelezo yoyote kwa muda wa miaka 8 kuhusu wapi wamefikisha uchunguzi wa ubadilifu wa pesa ambao ulikuwa umetakana kutokea. Mwisho Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kuwa naipongeza kwa kamati, lakini lazima wajitahidi wafanye kazi zaidi ili kuhakikisha kwamba kama ripoti hii inakuwa na ile tunaita manufaa kwa kaunti ya Tharaka Nithi, manufaa kwa assembly ya Tharaka Nithi na manufaa kwa Mheshimiwa Mwenda Gataya Mofaya. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Asante sana Senator Medu John.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to come and support this particular report of the Committee on Devolution. I would have almost fell for the invitation by Senator Faki Mohammed to speak in Swahili, but I know midway I'll get lost. So allow me to just stick to English. Mr. Speaker, first of all, is that I would want to first say that this question that has been raised by the Senator for Tharaka Nithi, Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya, regarding the relocation of government administration services from Chuka to Kadhwana town, the headquarters of the Tharaka Nithi County, cannot be more timely, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the reason why we as a country voted to have devolution is to take resources and services closer to the people. It is a sad state of affairs, Mr. Speaker, that 12 years down the line, the people of the Tharaka Nithi are still not closer to the services that we voted for when we voted for the 2010 Constitution. I have had an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, of looking at the distances that we are talking about as it is now, what has been brought by the Senator for Tharaka Nithi. Today, Mr. Speaker, a person from a place called Gadanga Chin in Tharaka Nithi travels for at least 200 kilometers to Chuka to access services. That is a distance that is twice to the headquarters of Nyandarua and back to Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, which I actually think is an injustice that must be sorted out very, very, very urgently. So I think I congratulate the Senator for Tharaka Nithi for this particular kind of intervention that he's making. I don't know, because I do not want to be seen like I'm disparaging the names of those ones who came before him, but I think this is something that is a major win for the people. As a man who represents a county whose headquarters was moved by the 2010 constitution, this is a common problem and must be addressed. Nyandarua County, Mr. Speaker, had its own headquarters hived from Nyahururu, which was taken to Laikipia, so we had to build our own town, Olkalau town, from scratch, so that at least we try to bring services closer to the people. As it is now, Mr. Speaker, the people of Embu can access Chuka more easily than the people of Tharaka-Nithi. So I do not want to belabor, because my colleagues have spoken as to why. We actually really need that this matter is sorted out and dealt with immediately. Mr. Speaker, one of the findings of the committee is that part of the reason why the headquarters is not moved or has not been moved to Kadwana is lack of adequate infrastructure to accommodate all national and county government offices, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the case of Nyandarua County, and in the case of all the other counties, it was not possible, and it is not possible, to build a town and all the offices at a go. I am very, very encouraged by the recommendation, Mr. Speaker, that we first use it is a recommendation that we ensure seamless relocation of government offices to Kadwana, and the committee should, if possible, ensure that government offices without space in the main office can have temporary workstations. Mr. Speaker, this is a major solution to this particular matter. We have to push people to, if there are no permanent offices in Kadwana, as it is now, let us organize and speak as to how we can have them occupy temporary offices, because I have seen it happen in Nyandarua, I have seen it happen in many other county headquarters that are rising from scratch. I would give an example, Mr. Speaker. Today, Mr. Speaker, 12 years after devolution, the land registry for Nyandarua County is still in Nyahururu. We have not been able to move to Olkalau. As the chairman of that line committee, Mr. Speaker, there has been problems of, there was poor workmanship of the new project, there was poor workmanship of the new offices, but those are issues that are neither here nor there. Let people go to Kadwana and operate within the available amenities, they operate within the available offices, so that we are able to move.
Stopping your time, Senator Medu.
Because I have never seen Senator Wakoli raise a point of order, so I was very, very shocked and surprised. In my entire life in this house, Mr. Speaker, I have never. If it were Senator Olekina, I would not have stopped, because I know it is common of him to raise a point. But Senator Wakoli, I was shocked as you are, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you need them to protect me from the noises of Senator Perez.
Give Senator Medu some minutes to conclude his point.
Yeah, you shall raise your point of order after maybe I am through. So, Mr. Speaker, I am very persuaded by the interventions that have been made by Senator Olekina and Senator Mohamed Faki. Mr. Speaker, as a Senate, we are the people that are supposed to protect devolution. So then to say that we need to form a multi-agency to go and sort out this matter is then to spite the people of Tharaka-Nithi. They have come to us, the people that are supposed to defend them, and then we want to give that duty to another, some other team, despite the pain of having to wait for 12 years we are now saying that they will have again to report back to the committee in 90 days. What is so hard, Mr. Speaker, in that committee inviting the EACC to tell them why they have not been able to sort out this matter? What is then so difficult? What is that decision that is too difficult, Mr. Speaker, that the committee cannot make, that it requires a multi-agency to go and make that decision, Mr. Speaker? I am of the opinion the Committee on Devolution should and must give definite answers to the people of the Rakanidi. The people of the Rakanidi do not know what the problem, what problem EACC have. They do not know what problem the national government have. All they want is services in Kadwana. So the answers that should and must come from this committee, Mr. Speaker, in my opinion, is that they must offer some solution around having these people get offices. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on recommendation number 2, that the Office of the Control of Budget and Auditor General shall provide.
Senator Wakoli, what is your point of order now? We can listen to your point of order.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Ningependa kunukuu kutoka kwa sheria na kanuni za bunge 110 kwamba seneta anaweza kuahirisha jambo lolote hadi wakati mwingine, na haya ni kwa mapendekezo ya mwenyekiti, ili yale ambayo yanajadiliwa kwa sasa yaweze kupewa muda zaidi, ili mapendekezo ambayo maseneta wameweza kutoa kwa siku ya leo yaweze kuorodheshwa ama yawekwe kama mchango katika komiti ya ugatuzi. Kwa sababu hatuwezi tena kuanza kusukuma gurudumu upya, ilhali tuko na nafasi kama Senate kukata kauli mara moja na kuamrisha fedha hizi ziweze kutumika mara moja katika ujenzi wa makao makuu ya kaunti husika. Kwa hayo Mheshimiwa Spika, naomba kwamba tuahirishe kikao hiki ili tuwape maseneta muda kuchangia na kutia kikomo mjadala huu katika jumba la Senate. Na naomba ndugu yangu jirani aweze kung'atuka kwenye kiti na niunge mkono. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Nani anang'atuka? Sababu sijasikia jina lake. Haya, endelea.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand to second that this debate is postponed so that we can put all the input that has been raised by the members here, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just to add on what honorable members have said in this House, Mr. Speaker, no one has the authority of stopping funds from being taken to counties unless you are the Senate, Mr. Speaker. If you read Article 225(3) of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, it mandates the Senate that it may authorize the Cabinet Secretary responsible for finance to stop the transfer of funds to a state organ or any other public entity, Mr. Speaker. So this is the only house that is mandated to stop transfer of funds to the county. So EACC, whether it acted that way, knowing or unknowingly, it was wrong. And that's why we need time, Mr. Speaker, so that committee can sit back and amend that report and immediately authorize the disbursement of those funds so that the people of Tharaka-Nithi can have their own headquarter where it's supposed to be without any delays. I second, Mr. Speaker.
Now that I have no say in this as the chair, I want to propose the question. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that pursuant to Standing Order 110, that debate on the motion be now adjourned. And I put the question that pursuant to Standing Order 110, that debate on the motion be now adjourned. As many, this matter does not involve county governments, and I put the question. As many as of the similar opinion say aye. As those of the contrary opinion say nay, the ayes have it. So, Senator Medu, you have 12 minutes when this motion resumes. Next order.
Order number 13, the Learners with Disabilities Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2023, second reading.
Senator Professor Margaret Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the Learners with Disabilities Bill 2023 be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, the Learners with Disabilities Bill 2023 was brought to this House in March, and we have gone through the whole process. The purpose of the bill, Mr. Speaker, is that the learners with disabilities is to propose that the learners with disabilities are provided for proper education. Provide for the education of the learners with disabilities and for the conduct of education in institutions offering education to learners with disabilities. Mr. Speaker, the objects of the bill, and I'll put just a summary because I know members have already read this bill, is to provide a framework for the realization of the right to education for all learners with disabilities. Also, it is to provide a framework for the establishment of a comprehensive education system for the provision of education to learners with disabilities. It's also to provide a framework that will ensure equal access to education for learners with disabilities. Mr. Speaker, the guiding principles actually arise from the Constitution itself, that every person has a right to free and compulsory basic education, pursuant to Article 53 of the Constitution. In the guiding principles, therefore, every person shall, in performing their functions under this Act, be guided by the principles outlined in Article 53 of the Constitution, that's the right to free and compulsory education. Then, coordinated public participation in the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of policies and plans related to the implementation of special education in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, as a background, I want to say that this bill is aimed at, as I mentioned earlier, is aimed at providing a legal framework to ensure the actualization of the right to basic education for learners with various disabilities in Kenya. And this is to ensure that they get those rights at the 3 levels of education, not just the basic education, but also in higher education.
The bill creates provisions of law that obligate the national government through the Ministry of Education and the county government to carry out their duties in bringing the education learners with disabilities to parity with normal learners and to able learners, and to end the exclusion of learners with disabilities from the education cycle. Mr. Speaker, I'll just give an overview of the bill for the sake of members. The bill comprises several provisions which includes consequential amendments to existing laws that may be affected by the implementation of this bill upon its enactment. Part 1 of the bill, which is clauses 1 to 4, Mr. Speaker, contain the citation of the bill, as usual, as well as the various definitions of terms that are being used in the bill itself. This part also contains the objects and the guiding principles, as I had mentioned, in performing duties under the Act once enacted. Mr. Speaker, the principles, as I mentioned earlier, are actually guided by the principle of Article 53 of the Constitution, as well as the principles of public participation, which provides the right to participate in the of the public to participate in the development of a bill. Mr. Speaker, Part 2, clauses 3 to 5, contains the rights of learners with disabilities. And when we talk of the rights, as outlined in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, the right of learners are enunciated in Clause 5 as the right to access to quality education, which is normally something that is denied to this class of Kenyans. The right to access to information. When we talk of right to access to quality or equal education to everybody, Mr. Speaker, we are talking of enabling somebody who is disabled to reach first where the education is being provided, which may require that there is modification of the learning environment. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, even in this House, we used to have problems of access to the chamber until one day we had a member who got an accident in the 9th Parliament, and from there, ramps were established. So when we are talking of access to education, we are talking of what facilitates the person to reach where the education is being provided to begin with. So right to access is very important. And then access to quality education, that the education that is being given is equal to education that is being given to any other child in the country. The right to access to information delivered in a suitable and legible media of instruction in the education system. What is suitable? We have different disabilities disadvantage our young learners differently, because if you are not able to translate the material to a media that can be utilized by different groups of disabilities, it becomes a challenge and a restriction to the learning of these students. So that is a very important section in this bill, that access is not only accessing education, you must access it in quality, but also you must access information that is delivered in a suitable manner. Clause 6, Mr. Speaker, provides for the rights of parents and guardians of learners with disabilities who are mandated to ensure the completion of the child's basic education and that the learner attends school regularly. This is a very important provision because, Mr. Speaker, learners have a right to education. Caregivers and parents may be overwhelmed with other duties and may not provide. So it was very important for us that we provide for the rights of the parents also and the guardians, so that the roles of the parents and the roles of the government can be outlined properly. Mr. Speaker, clauses 7 and 8 provide for the roles of the national government and the county government, respectively, as regards education for learners with disabilities. Clause 7 in particular elaborates on the responsibility of the national government as being borne by the Cabinet Secretary, responsible for matters relating to education. And these functions of the national government, if I may mention a few, Mr. Speaker, as follows: to adopt and monitor the implementation of the policy for the provision of education to learners with disabilities. Just as they monitor the implementation of policies regarding all others, we are also providing that in this bill. The other is to take measures, the national government should take measures to create opportunities and an environment that enables the realization of the right to special needs education. Mr. Speaker, the national government must put in place, according to this bill, should put in place the necessary infrastructure for the effective and efficient delivery of education to learners with disabilities in learning institutions falling within the mandate of the national government. This is extremely important because, as I said earlier, even accessing the classroom has been an issue, Mr. Speaker. You find that you reach some schools, a parent takes a child to school, finds that there is no way even a child with a wheelchair can access the facility. This, we expect the national government, as it works on classrooms for primary schools, classrooms for secondary schools, and even in universities, to provide for accessibility for all Kenyans. The national government also should review the levels of access to special needs education. This is very important because sometimes disability makes one a slow learner. And a slow learner doesn't mean that person will not learn. So we need to ask ourselves, at what level are they going to enter the different levels of education? And this is one area where the national government must provide guiding policies. The national government must formulate programs and put in place structures for the provision of home-based, non-formal, adult, continuing, alternative, online, free, and appropriate public education. This is a very delicate area, Mr. Speaker, because we are saying some children will need home-based education. But in one of the clauses of this bill, we are also saying even if a child has to receive home-based education, the government must take responsibility. Provision of somebody to take care of a child. Mr. Speaker, I happen to be a member of the Board of Trustees of the National Fund for the Disabled. I joined it only recently. And as we went around, it was amazing. I think we were in Taraganiti actually, when mothers came in because we had built a dormitory and we wanted the children to stay in school. And a mother came and said she was very grateful because she spent more than 50% of her time taking care of the child that had disabilities, while the other 5 children received 50% of their time. And she said she just could not do anything. She was just running around the home all the time. And we told us, and this bill is making a provision that government must provide for those who are in schools, provide access, provide facilities that may also give the children, because we want these children to interact. The principle of disability worldwide now is that of inclusivity. So we must have a way of them being inclusive. So when we are talking of those who are home-based, there has to be provision, because again, these are parents who pay taxation, and we must take care of them. When it comes to this group of learners, Mr. Speaker, it is not only the academic things that you are trying to teach. There is also physiotherapy. There is teaching them how to speak. There is teaching them how to walk. And for that reason, we are saying if a child is home-based, the government must chip in. Mr. Speaker, the national government also, in collaboration with the county governments and the relevant stakeholders, must put in place measures to address factors that hinder the realization of the right to education for learners with disabilities. As we said, our Constitution says everybody has a right to education, and we must provide for that. National government must ensure adequate funding, and I know when we'll be debating this, when the word funding comes to a bill that is in this House, we are told that it is made to be money bill, so we'll be getting advice from seniors like Alwale on whether to delete or to leave it as is. But what we are trying to say is that there must be a facilitation by national government to ensure that learners with disabilities are actually taken care of. Clause 8, Mr. Speaker, elaborates the responsibilities of the county governments, and Clause 8.1 states that a county government shall be responsible for the implementation and effective and efficient delivery of special needs education with respect to the learning institutions falling within their mandate. Mr. Speaker, which institutions are actually within the mandate of the county governments? There are two sets of institutions. There is the pre-primary school, early childhood, and that is where the beginning of education is. And we are saying we don't want these children to be left out, even in early childhood. They must be in school at that stage, if not for anything, for interaction with the other children, so that they are able to interact and they are able to play, because children is learn and play. So the county governments must therefore take responsibility to ensure that any child with disability, make sure that we have these children in school. Mr. Speaker, Part 3, which is Clause 9 to 19, deals with the registration and management of special needs education centers within the country, and Clause 9 obligates each county executive member to create a register of special needs education centers, including the public education institutions that provide education for learners with disabilities, the category of education that is offered in the said institution, and the category of resources required by the education institution. Mr. Speaker, this obligation arose because, remember the question that was even raised by the co-sponsor of this bill, Senator Sike, that there is no data. We don't have any data. We don't have even very basic data as to how many children do we have with disabilities in schools, which schools, and what kind of disabilities are we talking about. So it is very, very important that we obligate the county executive to do this kind of to take this kind of responsibility. Clause 10 regulates the creation of private special needs education institutions, which must be registered in accordance with the Basic Education Act 2013, so that they're in line with the other education system. Mr. Speaker, I know my 20 minutes is coming to a close. Clause 12 explains the process of admission of learners with disability, process of admission, so that no child is left out and that all parents...
Senator Kamar, I wish to remind you that you have got a whole 1 hour to move bill, and you're still within the 1 hour.
Thank you.
Don't rush yourself.
Thank you. Then I misread these 20 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So clause 12 explains the process of admission of the learner with disability. Clause 13 provides for the management of an education institution for learners with disabilities, which shall comprise. We have provided for a board, one person elected amongst the parents of learners with disability. We have provided for one representative of teachers. We have a representative of non-teaching staff and 2 persons with experience in matters relating to special needs education. Mr. Speaker, I have visited a number of schools. I am also privileged to have been a member of Parliament of Eldoret East when we have 3 special schools. And the amazing thing is that most of the schools, these special schools, did not have anybody who is an expert in the area of special education, and even with parents, without even parents. In some cases, you find that the parents are not there, and there are many, many excuses. So here, we have provided for the members of the management board. There is no doubt who must be in there. We said, so 2 persons with experience in matters relating to special needs education, and a social worker nominated by the county governor and recommended by the county education board, so that we have a committee, so that we have a board that can take care of, can take care of these children wholesomely. Mr. Speaker, I think I skipped clause 10 as I thought.
Honorable Senator Kamar, we will stop you so that you later on resume moving your bill. You have got 40 minutes remaining within your time when we resume on to your bill. There is a motion of adjournment to discuss a matter of national importance by the Honorable Senator Chute. I call upon you to move the motion, Senator. Thank you very much, Senator Kamar.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the motion that pursuant to Standing Order 37, the Senate do now adjourn to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance, namely the intercommunal killings and displacement of residents in Marsabit County. Mr. Speaker, sir, Marsabit County has experienced problems after problems. Mr. Speaker, in 1967, we had shifter menace in Marsabit that contributed to a lot of problems, displacement, and deaths. Mr. Speaker, sir, around 2013, 2017, 2022, we lost over 500 people in Marsabit County. Mr. Speaker, you are aware we lost leaders from Marsabit County, politicians, for the 4 constituencies. The leaders were Honorable Bonaya Godana, Honorable Dr. Guracha Galgalo Boru, Honorable Abdi Sasura, Honorable Titus Ngoyoni, Honorable Murugi Kariuki, Internal Security Assistant Minister. We lost Bishop William Wako. We lost General Adan. We lost 2 young pilots and other senior officers. Mr. Speaker, the politicians and the leaders were traveling in a military aircraft. The purpose was quelling tribal tensions in Marsabit, and the date was 10th April
2006. Mr. Speaker, we've lost a lot of good people in Marsabit. Mr. Speaker, I'm sad to say, on Monday, the 24th April 2023, we lost a young, beautiful girl, Kabale Haro, who was on a motorbike from Marsabit heading to Badassa. She's a resident of Badassa. She's on a motorbike, and the rider also was seriously injured, and he was hospitalized in Marsabit General Hospital. Mr. Speaker, on Tuesday, the 25th April 2023, we lost John Leshepi, who happens to be an old man from Loyangalani, which is Lake Turkana, due to revenge attacks. Mr. Speaker, again, on Thursday, the 27th April 2023, we lost Lokiyam Kesike, a young boy who was working in Marsabit town. Again yesterday, sadly, Mr. Speaker, a motor vehicle, KCB 327R, a white probox with 6 occupants of the same family members, was sprayed with bullets by unknown assailants. And the following people, Mr. Speaker, were killed, very unfortunately. One, Boniface Letore, a male, 68 years old, his wife, Christine Letore, 39-year-old, Loldikir, a male police officer, 4 years old, Sabina Loldikiram, a young person of 10 years old, Lenepe, a male, 20 years old, Melisiai Loldikir, same family, if you noticed, 40 years old. Mr. Speaker, there was a time the government imposed a curfew in Marsabit last year. The curfew extended up to for 6 months, Speaker. And during the curfew time, I think Marsabit got peaceful existence. People are doing their businesses, going to schools, doing their normal businesses everywhere. After the expiry of the curfew, just a few months ago, this problem has started again, has recurred again. Mr. Speaker, in Marsabit, I would first of all like to send my sincere condolences to the bereaved family, because we've lost a lot of people, not only these ones, Mr. Speaker. Some months ago, we lost so many people from the Rendile and the Gabra community and the Boran due to cattle rustling and sporadic killings. Mr. Speaker, we have a bigger problem also again in Marsabit town, which is the headquarters of Marsabit County, called Saku. On the 25th December 2022, a lady by the name Kamiso Bere was robbed of 520,000 Kenya shillings by robbers. Again, Soso Robe lost 150,000 another day and paralyzed, now bedridden. Mr. Speaker, again, Tuke Kadiro, Guyo Ume, Kesho Kidane, Juma Harme were robbed of millions of shillings. And there is no one single recovery. Mr. Speaker, I'm sad to say there is a collusion between the police officers, namely the SAID officers, based in Marsabit, with the criminals operating within Marsabit area. Mr. Speaker, the loot that is being gotten are equally shared. Mr. Speaker, I stand before this Parliament today and Kenyans not only worried about what has happened. I am actually worried about what is going to happen because these are revenge attacks. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we want to solve this problem, first, we need to have a reconciliation committee or members through the national government and see how we can bring our people together and educate them on how they can coexist. Mr. Speaker, the other issue is KPR guns. Some people around Samburu area and even Mandera, Isiolo, have KPR guns called NPR also. So I suggest, Mr. Speaker, if the government, the national government, can initiate how we can have young people who can have these guns and help the security officers. Mr. Speaker, I will also urge multi-agency security personnel to be deployed as soon as possible. Again, Mr. Speaker, we have got chiefs and assistant chiefs. Mr. Speaker, if I can request for only 2 minutes more, please, because this is a bit stressful. Mr. Speaker, the assistant chiefs and chiefs, some of them, like from the Logologo ones, a chief and assistant were killed, and there was no replacement, and there is no replacement up to today. I wish and ask the government to, as soon as possible, recruit more chiefs and assistant chiefs. Again, multi-agency personnel to be deployed between the Gabra and the Rendile community so that cattle rustling can be managed. Mr. Speaker, the Marsabit Badasa Road also should be having a patrol moving around for maybe on daily basis. Mr. Speaker, finally, I would want to urge the CS Interior is in Marsabit today. And Mr. Speaker, I don't know what is happening with Kenya Kwanza CSS. You know, the CS was in Marsabit today. And the leaders, as we are here, he has never notified us. He has not told us he was traveling to Marsabit. And as you know, the CS was a senator here. He has been in this government. And he has been in this government for the last maybe 8 months. And he's a very senior lawyer. And if he knows the problem that are in Marsabit, Mr. Speaker, he refuses to talk to us. He doesn't consult us. And we are very, very annoyed, Mr. Speaker. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I would ask Mr. Abbas, Honorable Abbas, Senator Honorable Abbas, Wajir Senator, to second this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Abbas, you have got 5 minutes to second and speak to the motion.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. First and foremost, I want to send my heartfelt condolence to the people of Marsabit and to the bereaved families that have lost their loved ones. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, and has been said by the mover, Marsabit has been experiencing many years of, conflicts. Many lives have been lost, many livelihoods have been lost, and as a result of that, even we have lost prominent leaders of of this country, as mentioned by the mover. However, we are not seeing any improvement. And as some of the conflict sources, the source of conflict is a result of underdevelopment in these counties. You are aware we have a very long porous borders, all the way from Turkana, in the Sudan area, a country with a lot of turmoil, Marsabit and Samburu, the border Ethiopia, a country with a lot of free guns and people moving to and fro with the guns across the borders, even along my own county, and up to Garissa. The borders are just too large, and too borders. Mr. Speaker, one other thing is that ammunition, guns are readily available at a very cheap price. So, while we appreciate actions being taken by our security officers, but I think we have moved below the bar. Now that we are moving people, we are saying that the military is in Turkana and West Bokot and all these things here. Those people have not been cleared, they have not been killed, they have not been arrested. What they have done is just relocate to other areas. They have moved to the borders of Marsabit, Samburu, and Solo, and they will go beyond and go up to Wajir and those places. So they will just maneuver their way, and they keep causing mayhem, stealing animals and killing people. Mr. Speaker, one other thing is, I think is now as we talk, the number of people mentioned here are coming from one community, one of the minority community in Marsabit. And if things continue as they are, we will, I'm worried that some of the communities might be wiped out, who are now actually a minority. They may be killed, all of them. And one other thing, Mr. Speaker, politics play also part of the problems. There are also issues to do with, as a result of this conflict, many schools have been closed, many children are not going to school, many children have been displaced, some of them have moved across the borders to their countries, they have lost their livelihoods. But however, every year in, year out, we are singing the same things. I don't know what we are going to do. This country is a country that will have all the resources. It's a country that have all the forces. They have the askaris. We have the army. We have the police. But unfortunately, as the mover said, we were suspicious that there must be a hidden agenda to keep the pastoralists busy so they can continue killing themselves, so the development can continue. Otherwise, we don't know what to say, because it's very unfortunate. I think these are a little bit, policy issues that are hidden to us. Because we cannot be talking about everyday people being killed. We're in a dependent country. We have, we are not in a state, a failed state. So there must be an issue. Why pastoralists are always fighting? They fight because of they are underdeveloped. They have no resources. There's drought. People are now hungry. It rained. There's floods. There's no intervention. So what people do is they have no other source of income. They want to eat one another. They just go to steal animals. They restock. When the drought comes, they want to eat the same animals from their colleagues. So I think this is an endless and vicious cycle that must come to an end. And it can only come to an end when we have development. We must be able to use the resources available to create job creation for the youth. We must be able to produce food on our own. We must be able to have, security officers who are non-partisan, so that at least we can be able to control these kind of issues. Mr. Speaker, it's very unfortunate. Many people have been killed. Many have been made disabled. Many have fled from their homes. They are homeless almost. Many have lost their livelihoods. And those people, nobody gives them attention. So it is a high time this policy of just looking at the people who are dying every day, people who have been killed, people who the animals have been raided, that the hidden agenda that the respective government, the successive government have had it against the pastoralists and against the people of Marsabit should stop, and we need to have the attention to be given to the people of Marsabit and the people of northern Kenya, because we're part of this country, and we need protection. Lives and property must be protected, Mr. Speaker, sir. With those few remarks, I beg to second the motion.
Thank you, Senator Abbas. Now, honorable senators, I now propose the question that the House do now adjourn pursuant to Standing Order 37 to discuss a matter, a definite matter of urgent national importance, namely the inter-community killings in Marsabit County. And honorable members, under Standing Order 37, we are allowed to have not more than 5 minutes speaking. I allowed the mover of the motion, more than 10 minutes because of the motive nature of the motion that he was moving in. I will allow the members who have requested to contribute to this motion 5 minutes each, so that we are able to have all of us who've requested. My dashboard is red, and it's because of the interest that the motion seeks to attract. I will request that members do take a maximum of 5 minutes, and I will start with the Honorable Senator Tobiko Pesi Peris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity to support the adjournment motion to discuss this very important matter of the loss of lives due to conflicts at the north, Mr. Speaker, Marsabit, and all other related areas, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was listening keenly to Senator Chute, and I really, really felt for him and for the people of Marsabit and for the people of northern Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's become a trend. It's become almost synonymous with, some regions in this country that conflicts is the order of the day, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to believe, and I strongly believe, that it's not the desire of any human being to harm another. But, Mr. Speaker, circumstances, the situations, very difficult situations, are forcing communities to rise against another, to fight each other over pastures, over scarce resources, to have clan wars, maybe even over leadership, Mr. Speaker. And you would wonder that there are parts of this country that have been left for the jungle law, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is another Kenya, a Kenya where there is order, a Kenya where there are the security forces, a Kenya where some, Kenyans are protected, their properties are protected, and nothing can be allowed to harm them. But there are Kenyans who've been left to harm themselves, to kill themselves, and to just survive in the most difficult circumstances, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because 5 minutes are not enough, because I feel very bad that this situation is happening not just in Marsabit, not just in Laikipia, but many of the pastoralist areas, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was wondering, was it yesterday when the Azimio people are allowed to do their mandamanos and move around the city? Yet, I know of a day in Kajiado East, last parliament, towards the elections, that the Maasai community was demonstrating against, wildlife conflict, and 5 of our young people were gunned down by government. So there are those people who are treated like animals. There are those people the bullet is meant for, and there are those people who are protected by the law, Mr. Speaker. And I wonder, Mr. Speaker, and I will urge the members from pastoralist communities, we are a huge force. We must read the signs of times. We must read, the writings on the wall, so that we talk, we communicate with each other, and look for ways to solve the problems in our places. Meanwhile, the Kenya Kwanza government should come out differently from the other governments that have passed to give infrastructure to these areas, to harvest the water that is flooding right now, to save these communities from subsequent droughts and conflicts, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, pain is what has caused some of us, to join leadership thinking we will solve situations in our communities. I remember the leaders that have been mentioned by Senator Chute, who passed on. I and the wife of Titus Ngoyoni, Mary Ngoyoni, Alice Kureya, a lady from Turkana called Bitisa School, we started an organization called Pastoralists of Women, Women of Pastoralist Women of Kenya, to try and solve out some situations. That's how I ended up in the National Assembly. And Mr. Speaker, we are still crying to date because we have not been listened to. That's why I want to urge my president, who is a pastoralist himself, to now come out and bring order in.
Senator, your time is up. Senator Ekomwa James Lomenen.
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I share deep grief with the people, people of Marsabit who have lost life for the 2 days ago, even today, the other week. Mr. Speaker, it is very painful. I share the same grief, I share the same situation in Turkana County. The same happens with Samburu, the same happens with Marakwet, Pokot. Most of this community indulge themselves in unnecessary killings. Mr. Speaker, it is not normal for almost in a week, Kenyans lose their lives without any natural disease. They lose their lives through killings, by shooting, by touching their houses, burning their vehicles, government vehicles or commercial vehicles. Somebody just stops you in a road when you are traveling, maybe to visit your family, even for going for official duty, Mr. Speaker. Even without greeting you, he greets you with a bullet. You ask, why? What have you done? There is no explanation. As we talk now, Mr. Speaker, this issue of Marsabit is very critical. We should not just take it as just casual. It is very deeply indulged into political affiliations. If you see those people who are considered as the people who make this issue of Marsabit very serious, you will find there are big politicians who are in this issue. And we are telling the government, and we are telling leader of majority whip, and even Shute, can you take your time to sit with the leaders of Marsabit, sit together with them and the president, so that we solve this problem of internal clansism? For us, Mr. Speaker, ours is different. As we sit now, it is tribal conflict. And we fight every day, even every day we fight. Without notice, no one who informs others that I'm going to kill people from Turkana or from West Pokot, from where. They just do it. It is their usual business. If we find people who kills others, Mr. Speaker, you will be perplexed, because they are only children below 15 years, those who are holding guns. and they kill potential people in this nation. Mr. Speaker, as we talk now, I support what Senator Schutte has said. First, why there is highway robbery with violence, and there is no patrol in these highways. People are just killed, and then people visit the scene after killings, and then they record. After the recording, they keep quiet. How long will it happen every time people just
Honorable Senator, your time is up. Thank you for your contribution. Senator Halwale Boni, Kakamega.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my condolences to the families that are bereaved and those who have sustained injuries. I want to condemn what is taking place in Marsabit and ask the authorities to take time and read the report of the Kennedy Kiliku Commission on tribal clashes in 1992. This commission went into this matter and spoke on many things which there is room for us to work on. Why? Because other than at that time, the political inclination of tribalism, in this other half, especially amongst the pasturists, it was a question of water and pasture resource. Mr. Speaker, we cannot have such a strong reports, make such a strong and useful recommendations, and we don't make use of them. Whereas the media and those of us who are outside the pastoral communities, we keep on blindly blaming the issue of contestation over resource. We miss the modern day challenge. The modern day challenge, Mr. Speaker, is no longer water and pasture. It's bad politics. It's bad politics. In fact, I am surprised that our Minister for Internal Security has gone up north without carrying alongside with him the political players. We need to call all the politicians to come together so that we divorce political interests from the greater interests of stability and peace. Mr. Speaker, you are a young man, and I'll tell you with respect that in 2005, in 2006, I lost personal friends, colleagues that we used to sit with in this house and drink tea with. Some of them colleagues, doctors, Dr. Kuraja Galgalo. Mr. Speaker, I lost the then deputy leader of the opposition, and by then we were in the opposition, Dr. Bonaya Kodana, one of the finest Kenyan politicians that I've ever seen in this house. Brilliant former minister for foreign affairs and a PhD holder in law. We lost them because at that time, the Gabra and the Bonaya and the Borana majority in Marsabit were up fighting. So they went there and they lost their lives. Mr. Speaker, the things that make our people fight these days is no longer water and pasture. They are fighting because they want to push politician A out of office and politician B into office. The people who should be first to record statements are the people who compete these days for the position of governor of Marsabit. Yes, I saw 2-3 years ago, Mr. Speaker, one of them trying to increase his majority because the Borana are too many and he comes from the Gabra, increase his majority by pretending that he was upping the interests of another smaller tribe, who even went as far as changing their name. They were referred to as the Wata And now he came and told people in Marsabit that we have changed these people are called the Wayu. And in the process, people started killing each other. And Mr. Speaker, because in the instance of 2005, 60 people were murdered at Turbi, the infamous Turbi massacre. And majority of those people were children who had nothing to do with politics, who had nothing to do with competition for resources, just little children of God, playing and going to school and coming back home to play again. Mr. Speaker, this House must stop that nonsense in Marsabit. My final point is appeal to leaders from the pastoral communities. Why is it, yes, we have our share as non-pastoralists. Why is it that these killings, mass killings and whatnot is only...
Thank you, Senator Boni, your time is up. In the very respectful comment that the chair is young, I remember reading the story of the late Dr. Bonaya Godana, and he was indeed a refined gentleman and a politician for that matter. Yes. Senator Mwinyi Haji Mohamed Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia hoja ambayo imeletwa bungeni na Senator Chute. Senator Mheshimiwa Spika, mauaji ya Mbari ambayo yanatokea kule Marsabit na sehemu zingine katika nchi yetu, Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeshindwa au wameshindwa kusoma masomo yaliyotokea Rwanda mwaka 1994. Leo ikiwa ni karibu miaka 30 kutoka matukio ya Rwanda, Mheshimiwa Spika, bado katika nchi yetu watu wanauana kiholela kimbari kupigania uongozi. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi wengine hata twashangaa ilikuwaje babu zetu wakatujumuisha na watu wengine katika Kenya, kwa sababu kwetu pwani, kama kwetu Mombasa, hakuna itikadi ama hakuna hulka ya kuua mwenzako kwa njia yoyote. Yale ya juzu nawasikia Shakahola ni wageni ambao wamekuja kule kutoka sehemu zingine, wamekuja kupata msitu na wakaanza kufanya itikadi zao mbovu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni masikitiko kwamba serikali ambayo tuko nayo miaka karibu yenda 60 ya uhuru, Mheshimiwa Spika, bado sisi tunauana kiholela, watu wanapoteza maisha kiholela. Mheshimiwa Spika, vijana wadogo wanauliwa, kina mama wanauliwa bila makosa yoyote ambayo wamefanya katika maeneo yao. Mheshimiwa Spika, na ukiangalia sana Mheshimiwa Spika, mambo haya yanafanywa chini ya macho ya serikali. Juzi hapa wakati tulipokwenda Shakahola, Mheshimiwa Spika, tulipata kwamba zaidi ya watu 110 waliweza kupoteza maisha yao kwa sababu ya mafunzo ya itikadi kali ya mmoja tu wanaojiita makasisi ama mapasta katika eneo lile. Mheshimiwa Spika, pasta yule, Mheshimiwa Spika, amekwenda kotini akitoka karibu mara 50 kutoka mwaka 2018. Serikali ilikuwa anajua kwamba huyu anafundisha watoto wasiende shule, huyu ana itikadi ya kufundisha watu wasiende hospitali wakati ni wagonjwa, lakini serikali ilimwangalia tu. Mheshimiwa Spika, masikitiko ni kwamba kama ingekuwa ni Muislamu alifanya mambo yale, Mheshimiwa Spika, na hakika yule angekuwa shakwenda mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu kufikia sasa. Tumeona Mheshimiwa Spika, Sheikh Abud Rogo alipigwa risasi mbele ya bibi yake, yuko ndani ya gari na bibi yake na mtoto, akapigwa risasi akauliwa, na bibi yake kutoka wakati huo mpaka sasa hajapata amani. Sheikh Makaburi Abubakar alipigwa risasi, ametoka kotini Shanzu, akapigwa risasi akauliwa pale bila hatia yoyote. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hivyo ni masikitiko kwamba watu wanauana Marsabit, Samburu, Turkana, wakati serikali iko pale na iko macho na haifanyi chochote. Jana tunapeleka ardhi hali hapa katika ofisi ya Rais, tukatimuliwa na askari karibu 200, wabunge 20 wanatimuliwa na askari 200. Mheshimiwa Spika, Tumepeleka ardhi hali katika serikali, tunapeleka petition kwa serikali. Ni makosa kupeleka petition kwa serikali? Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, hapa tunaona kwamba serikali inatumia vibaya mamlaka yake. Wakati mahali watu wanaumia, watu wanakufa, Mheshimiwa Spika, hakupeleka usalama. Lakini hapa katikati ya mji wabunge 11 ama 20 wamekwenda kupeleka petition hapa ofisi ya rais, tunasukumwa, tunapigiwa tear gas, tunafukuzwa kama ambao ni wahalifu. Na hii ni serikali, Mheshimiwa Spika, ambayo ilichaguliwa kwa imani kwamba itaondoa mauaji ya kimbari, italeta usalama katika wananchi. Leo ni masikitiko ndugu yangu Seneta Chute kutoka Mandera ambaye alichaguliwa kwa chama cha UDA, anakuja analia kwamba watu wake wanapata shida, watu wake wanakufa, wakati serikali iko hapa inasumbua viongozi wa upinzani. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mambo kama haya, Marsabit samahani, lakini Marsabit na Mandera huko yote usalama ni duni. Huwezi kutembea kama tunavyotembea sisi Mombasa wakati wowote masaa 24 bila ya shida yoyote. Mheshimiwa Spika, hizi ni sehemu ambazo zilipiga kura kwa serikali ya UDA ama serikali.
Senator Faki, your time is up. I've got my dashboard full and members need to contribute kindly. Thank you very much. Senator Omar Sheikh Mariam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to support the motion. Mr. Speaker, first of all, condolences to people of Marsabit. Mr. Speaker, Article 43E said there is a right for security for citizens. Mr. Speaker, in northern Kenya, insecurity is the biggest problem we have. As a pastoralist, when it's a drought, we fight. When it's raining, we fight. And devolution is supposed to bring security to our community. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to this killing, in other counties, if such things happened, you can see in the TV, on the radio, that human rights commissions there to support those guys affected, the victims. But when it comes to northern Marsabit, if the senator concerned has not brought this motion, we will have known this insecurity there. But is the right, is the work for Kenya National Human Rights to investigate and see what's going on and make resolutions what is happening in our northern regions. Mr. Speaker, it's very shameful that pastoralists, instead of becoming brothers and sisters, to fight each other because they're sharing resources. When it comes to pasture, we're supposed to share. When it comes to water, we're supposed to share. But now, in the pastoralist community, we need civil educations on that. We have to share our resources so that our animals and our people, our kids, will be safe. Mr. Speaker, security is a necessity. If you don't have security, kids cannot go to school. We don't get your basic rights when there is no security. Mr. Speaker, is a higher chance for our government to investigate further so that this issue of insecurity in a pastoral area must come to an end. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Omar. Senator Muma Muyeka Catherine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute. Mr. Speaker, I support Senator Chute and would like to sincerely condole with him and the people of Marsabit for the loss of lives, the unnecessary loss of the lives that were lost, not just now, but also in the past. I wish to add to what Senator Boni said, that Dr. Bonaya Godana was one of the finest lawyers that we had in this country. In fact, the #1 first-class honors in law in this country. Mr. Speaker, as we discuss this issue, I would like to remind us as Senate that in the recent past we have discussed similar issues in Turkana, in Baringo, and in other areas of pastoralists. Mr. Speaker, we need to come up with something different than just lamenting and never doing anything about this issue. Mr. Speaker, whereas security is an issue or a function that is assigned to national government, I think as the Senate, we need to persuade the national government of the need to strengthen the intergovernmental relations with counties for purposes of ensuring that we tighten matters security for the benefit of residents in counties. Mr. Speaker, even as national government is in charge of security, the insecurity happens on the ground in counties. And when it happens, it is not possible for county governments to just continue with the development agenda. So, Mr. Speaker, one of the things that the Senate needs to do is to open up conversation on how national government and county governments can cooperate on matters security to ensure that issues of cattle rustling, issues of civil attacks of communities, intertribal wars are stemmed. Mr. Speaker, if you work with the county governments, they are likely to be the first recipients of information that's happening and to know the innuendo of the tussle between communities and tussle between tribes that is happening on the ground. If they were to be involved, Mr. Speaker, then issues like what happened in Shakahola might not happen because both levels are dealing on this issue. So we need to recommend as Senate that the intergovernmental cooperation between the two levels of government happen in matters security so that we can actually help to deal with the issues that are there. Mr. Speaker, second issue that is as important, it is high time we applied the equalization fund to the marginalized areas to fast track the infrastructure necessary to put in place things like water, schools, health, in order to settle some of the communities that play the survival game because they have been marginalized and we are not fast tracking their development in order for them to be able to participate in development like every other place. If we focus on this as the Senate, and this is directly under our mandate, Mr. Speaker, we will contribute to this issue. Otherwise, this conversation we are having today, we have had it in respect of another area, and we will have it tomorrow in respect of another area. It is high time this country started valuing human life, and the idea of people being killed willy-nilly by other communities or by forces, police forces and others needs to stop. We need, as the legislature, as the Senate, to send the message that life is important and we need to take it seriously. I support.
Thank you, Senator Catherine Muma. Rita Julius Mulgor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me the opportunity to also air my views along with my colleagues. And while I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share, I grieve with my brother, Senator Chute, because of losing such a big number of people. And the word that he said, that it is not even known who will be next, because those who have gone, but it is not known who will be next, which group of people. Mr. Speaker, the neglect that has been there ever since colonial time and independent Kenya now on pastoralists is really terribly hitting us. And it seems like it is going out of hand because it is killing every now and then. I just went to attend another burial of 5 last week in a place called Seker, and many others in other places like Sigor in Chesagon area, and along the Takwell area that people are killed every day. And therefore, the fact that the government seems not to really feel with the people enhances it so that the stopping point is not there. And I would really say that the operatives of the government, you see now a whole minister goes without area leaders to a place that is chaotic. What is he going to do? Because my experience along between Pokot and Turkanas is that unless there is a dialogue, you cannot do anything. Bringing the two communities together to a table of talking would really help, because either side would give their views and bring a solution. And then affirmative action on education will be a situation that will really solve this menace in the long run. Because when people get educated, they're less likely to be attracted to this thing. But the more, the higher literacy there is in a place, the more they will really continue to massacre each other. And then affirmative action also will bring the solution to hunger, and then knowledge to resources such as grazing areas, water points, and so on. And this is something that government can bring to be able to solve the situation. And then Senator Khalwale said that it has these days graduated into political scores between rival politicians. In addition to that, it has also graduated into land and border issues, such that this community wants to push the other across the river or across a non-border because they want to extend their territory into other areas. And this is something that government knows, and because they know the borders between districts and counties, and therefore it is something that they would come in and be able to just show that such and such county, like the county of West Pokot, this is the end. The county of Samburu, this is the end. So that, the issue of and mentality of extensionism does not occur. So I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Reta. Senator Chirarkei, Samson Kiprotich.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I want to commend Senator Chute for bringing this adjournment motion. Our deepest sympathies and empathies with the families that have lost their loved ones. I'm told there are 4 and 2 others are hospitalized. And Mr. Speaker, sir, it looks like there is a continued negligence by security agencies within Marsabit County, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, the government has committed itself, and we don't doubt that they are doing their best, especially in trouble zones like Marsabit, North Rift, including Samburu, Elgeyo Marakwet County, among others, even Turkana, Mr. Speaker. But the main issue should always be addressed, Mr. Speaker. I've seen the CS in charge of Interior was in Marsabit today. In fact, I didn't expect Senator Mohammed Chute to be on the floor of the House because I thought they had liars with the Minister of Interior and his colleagues, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that they are on the ground. Because this is a security issue, it's a political issue, it's about many other factors, Mr. Speaker, sir. I think for the areas, and I didn't have an opportunity, since this operation of flashing bandits, an issue of insecurity in North and across the troubled region, the operation order that they have been using is of the police. And some individuals have argued that the operation order should have come from the military to ensure that, because what you see in Marsabit and other regions are tribal animosity, revenge attacks, and where lives and property has been lost, Mr. Speaker, sir. My proposal, because that's why they say when you drive a car, the windscreen is bigger than the side mirror, because we always believe that there are better things ahead. My proposal is that we need to empower these regions, Mr. Speaker, sir. The issue of education must be looked at, the issue of infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. And this is the reason we are seeing this region, Mr. Speaker, because of insecurity, because these regions were marginalized. We are paying the